movement. Over the past 5 decades, Chairman Omali has campaigned and defended the democratic rights of the African community to organize and raise up African women and to mobilize them to be opposition to the U.S. and their wars, and to make popular the demands for reparations to African people. He built the worldwide Uhuru.
Thank you very much, comrades. First, I want to express appreciation and to salute the comrades from International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, our president, and our IEC. And I really appreciate being able to be here at this convention that marks something like 40 years of existence for the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And that's not a small thing. I also have to express appreciation to my wife, Ona Zene Yeshitela. Not only because she was defend, project the party and the Uhuru movement right now under this critical period, as well as historically. I think it's important to mention that in part because, as you know, on July 29, 2022, the US government attacked our revolution. And they wanted to paint it, they attacked our people globally. They wanted to narrow the definition of what had happened to just an attack on me and what we've come to know as the Uhuru Three. But the reason they attacked us is because the impact we were having on the overturning your prison sentences and $250,000 fines for each of us. It was clear that they thought they were crippling or destroying our movement. And one thing that helps us to be clear on that is the trial itself and how the trial went down and how the government came to that trial with nothing, not even witnesses that they could point that they could use against us, despite the fact that they'd offered a $10 million bounty for anybody who could bring some kind of evidence that they could use in that trial. So they thought that they would destroy us, that one component of an attack to destroy us. When they came to that house on Redbud, where the deputy chair and I live, when I came down the stairs of that house after being not startled at 5 o'clock in the morning, pre-dawn, by a call on a loudspeaker to come out of the house, that this is the FBI. And when I went down the stairs, and when I got down the stairs, I was greeted with military forces and armored vehicles in front of our house. And I was greeted also by assault weapons mounted with laser targeting devices. And those targeting devices, laser targeting, you've seen it in the movies, where red dots were all over my chest. And I was sure that they were going to kill me. The first thing, of course, that came to mind was something that we've mentioned already, or has been mentioned during this process: the murder of Fred Hampton, and how they came at 4 o'clock in the morning and murdered him in bed as he lay there next to his 8.5-month pregnant wife. So I was certain they were going to kill me when I came down the stairs. My wife, when Comrade Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela, when she came down the stairs, she was greeted by a drone that almost hit her in the face as it went up the stairs into the house. So this is part of what happened at that house. And at the other places here in St. Louis and in St. Petersburg, Florida, that they occupied, our homes, our offices, they were there something like from 6 to 8 hours in these spaces. And at that time, I said that unlike Fred Hampton, this situation may have included a slow assassination, because we didn't know what they put in that house or any of these places. We had no idea what they put there. We remembered what they did to Nkrumah, how they killed him. We remembered how they killed Yasser Arafat with some mysterious kind of poisonous disease. We remembered what they did with Hugo Chavez and how they killed him, these mysterious diseases and what have you that they inflicted on the people. So we had no way of knowing what would happen, what they had done to that house. I just know that on June 4th of this year, I found myself in a hospital. And I was in a hospital because they had discovered a malignant nodule on the bottom of my right lung. This is somebody I had smoked cigarettes 40 years ago. My lifestyle in terms of fitness, in terms of diet, in terms of working out almost every day, etc. It just left it difficult to understand how I'm in a hospital now, and where they removed a third of my lung. The bottom third of my lung. I'm telling this, many of you may not have known this, some of you, but I want you to know, they removed the bottom third of my lung. I was in the hospital for a month. That's just for this thing. I was under for 5.5 hours for this surgery. I still feel consequences in terms of my ribs itself, where they had to go in. And then later that same day, the tube that they had attached to me in my chest and what have you, to remove fluids came out. And they had to go put me under again to put the tube back in. So I was in the hospital for a month and dealing with this. And of course, if in fact there was an assumption that this was something that would take us out of the struggle, they were wrong. We pushed it up. And one of the reasons that I mentioned Comrade Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela is because she slept in a chair in that hospital room every day for a month. She was there in a chair. And in fact, she was there for such a period of time that the staff began to treat her as one of the nurses, that she had to get them straight, that I don't work here, you work here, you got to do these things and what have you. So that was one aspect of it. And, you know, while we're married and what have you, but she was there protecting the party, protecting the work that we do and what have you. But she was there as a part of an amazing team that included Comrade FoFeet, who herself is a nurse. It included Comrade Amanda. It included 20, 30 people who were in that waiting room every day, and especially during the time the surgery was occurring. So the people who worked there may not have known who the hell I was, but they knew from this crew of people who were there every day that I must be somebody, as Jesse Jackal might say. And that was extremely important. We had a whole crew. There were forces who not only were there to make sure that the hospital knew that there were people who were overseeing what was happening to me, but they took care of things like, I should mention that I was hospitalized, I think, on the same day of the tornado, that the tornado happened. So I couldn't stay in my house or anything like that. But this crew organized the places where I could stay. And they organized food that I was able to eat every day because they put it together. And people took turns making meals and things like that. So we had a hell of a crew that took it on. And as a part of our tradition, turning a bad thing into a good thing, tightening up our organizational skills and unity and what have you. So I just wanted to say that I wanted to do this for two reasons. One, to extol Comrade Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela for the role that she played in this process. I lost 31 pounds in that hospital. And some of you can see it now. One little sister who sort of spent some time growing up in this movement, when she saw me when I first came back, she said, what did she say? I was thin as a pencil or something to that effect, you know. So I lost a lot of weight. And I also wanted to mention it because I think it's really important for those of you who may not have known. Some people know that I was not present often and that they couldn't see me often, but didn't necessarily know why. I'm sure there was speculation that was going on, et cetera, but I just think it's important for me to have let you know exactly what it was that took me, you know, away from this kind of participation. Yeah, well, you know, I didn't mention, Comrade Deputy Chair was reminding me that the forces who worked to secure me and my health, you know, they extended, you know, all the way to California. People were there, Comrade Mark Anderson and his wife, Suta, you know, who herself is a doctor. And, you know, so and these are forces who, every time I was meeting with hospital staff and doctors and what have you, they were intervening. I'm sure they found us quite annoying. So that's part of what happened. And I just wanted you to know that. And whatever may have appeared to be the case, we're stronger than ever. 3 months ago, I could not put on my own shoes or tie my shoelaces. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to breathe. I'm still learning how to walk and breathe. I'm getting better at both of those things, but that's the situation we were confronted with. And I just wanted to say that to let you know about that aspect of our work, our struggle, and also, I believe, the aggression of the state against us. So I want to really express appreciation for this particular convention. It's happening at a critical time, perhaps a time that's more critical than the actual founding of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. This is an organization that was brought into existence by the African People's Socialist Party. We built what was first the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement in Oakland, California. We revolutionaries. We were revolutionaries when we built the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, but we were also conscious of the impact that the assassinations of Malcolm, of Martin, of Bobbie Hutton, of Fred Hampton, of Patrice Lumumba, all these people, the assassination, the murder, the kind of demoralization, the fact that throughout this country, as well as other places, there were tanks. Do you know there were tanks in the streets? It's worth mentioning because there are some people who see this phenomenon of Donald John Trump as something that's peculiar in terms of the aggression that's directed against our people. But this was the case that we were dealing with. And we didn't have a coherent response to any of this. So we pulled together the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. It was, we couldn't call on people to come to make the revolution. People remembered every time we get a leader, the white man kills him. This is what we hear commonly in the community at this time. And people remembered, as I mentioned, the tanks in the streets and other kinds of things that we were confronted with. So we had to be able to grapple, to mobilize the people, not immediately around the revolution, but around the issue of democracy. Democracy. And this is something that we said we have to force the United States to deal with the issue of democracy. We're not trying to make them deal with revolution, deal with the question of democracy that you say you believe in, etc. So, and we said it's the People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. It's a national struggle for national democratic, revolutionary national democratic program. And when we say it's a revolutionary national democratic program, by that, I want to be clear because some people understand the question of something being national, being US-wide or something to that effect. When we say it's a national democratic movement, we mean it was the movement of the African nation. It's a national democratic movement. It's an African nation movement. And that was important because that was one of the things that distinguished us from the assimilationists, from the integrationists. We're not talking about assimilating, immigrating, integrating. We're talking about a national democratic movement, a democratic movement to advance the struggle of African people, which is what we continue to talk about even now. And we have begun to talk about it more frequently in this recent period. So that's what we're talking about. And it's important to say that because there's a way that democracy is fought for in this country that has a historical materialist basis for it. For example, some people on this platform, even on today, talked about things like the First Amendment and and other components of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, that's supposed to confer upon the people certain democratic rights. But the fact is that the democracy that's enjoyed by white people, by Europeans here and around the world in general, but specifically to the United States, it's a democracy that they enjoy as a consequence of fighting against feudal or the British who dominated them at the time. Because as we talk about colonialism, we remember that when Europeans talked about colonialism previously, what they meant was a process where Europeans would leave what is England now. They would leave what is France or Portugal now. They would go to Brazil. They would go to this territory of the United States. And they would go to Nigeria and India and places like that. And they would go there for the purpose of doing what? Of stealing resources, taking resources, and then getting those resources back to what they characterized as the mother country of England, Portugal, France, etc. That was what colonialism was about from their perspective. So they did that. And when they came to this land, they put together certain rights and things like that that would protect them, that would give them, because they took this land from England. The British, they working with the English, with the UK as they called it, that had also occupied Ireland, stealing the resources from the people of Ireland that would end up in Australia, New Zealand, all these places. They would end up in these places now that we call Canada. But when they came here and took this land from the indigenous people, it was they who made the law. The Bill of Rights that we talk about, the First Amendment that's been talked about, were rights that were created in 1791, ratified by the United States Congress. 1791, African people in this country were considered property, had nothing to do with us. And I think it's really important. So what they actually want was the democracy to oppress us, a democracy that would oppress the indigenous people here on this land. That was the democracy that they want. And it came at our expense. And so I just think it's really important to state that we are not looking for that democracy. We are looking for a democracy that we define, the highest expression of which is what? Self-determination. Self-determination. For the colonized people, the highest expression of democracy is self-determination, taking back our capacity to be a self-governing, self-determining people. And what does that mean, actually? It means that we have our own government. We don't live under the domination of somebody else's government. It means that we have our own economies, that we don't live as fodder for some parasitic economy that steals all of our resources, steals our genius, steals our music, steals our science, steals everything that we have brought to work through our own struggle, steals our life. That this is something that we understood that we had to take on. And that's different from trying to find democracy within the colonial system itself, because it doesn't exist, not for the colonized. And this is not something that's new. I want to quickly try and make a couple of other points because I talked a lot already. But one thing is that we should mention is that this moment in history, where we see such an aggression that's being initiated against African people and against colonized peoples around the world, that this is a very serious moment, that it's a moment that white people and other liberals refer to as proto-fascistic, that somehow this is like fascism. And they would warn us in particular, because we've always said that our struggle is not against fascism, it's against colonialism. They would say, see how military troops, our National Guard sent into Washington, D.C. and Baltimore and Tennessee, and talking about doing that here in St. Louis. See they would say, this is fascism, etc. And what we say in response to that is that what they are experiencing is the crisis of a colonial system, a system based on the colonial mode of production that goes into crisis and has historically every time the colonized people rise up around the world. It sends shockwaves throughout what's supposed to be this democratic system that white colonizers are supposed to be able to enjoy. They can't enjoy it that way. So they come up with these extraordinary means by which to control society. And in the recent past, these means have included abrogation of basic democratic rights for white people. Usually, it has been something that we see happening with the Mexicans, with the Arabs, with the Africans, with other people. But now, the settlers themselves are beginning to experience what comes natural to the system. Now, one reason we say that we have to reject the concept of fascism, because fascism is something that's an aberration. It is not something that's normal. Fascism is not normal. When they give it its definition because it's an abnormality. But colonialism, but National Guards in our community, that's normal. They sent National Guards to St. Petersburg, Florida in 1996. They had National Guards on standby. And when they put O.J. Simpson on trial, they have National Guards that's there for us all the time. They had National Guards in St. Louis and East St. Louis. And what was that, 1917 and what have you. So the National Guards are always there for us. This is not new. This is part of the colonial reality that we experience. This is the basis for the high blood pressure. This is the basis, in part, for the early death that African people experience because oppression, all the time, oppression, because colonialism requires ongoing violence and oppression against the people. And it's important to say that. So something has been happening here. All of these things, these attacks on the democracy, democratic rights of the people, and especially on African people and colonized people. We see more troops being sent to the border to keep Mexicans from coming into this country and other people south of the border. As I mentioned, you're talking about National Guard troops where there are majority African populations here. This has become part of the reality. You're talking about assaults on museums that might say something truthful or near truthful about the reality that African people have to this system and to this country. You see Trump go to the United Kingdom, where he's feted as royalty and where he meets with the royalty. And he talks about how he's happy to be in England because England is this place that the U.S. shares so much with. It's the place that helped to spread civilization around the world. It is true that England at one juncture up until the 1940s controlled a quarter of the world's population. It controls a quarter of the territory of the world. This was colonial domination of peoples everywhere. In fact, England bragged about being an empire upon which the sun never set, which means that England had slaves in every time zone in the world. This is what he was saluting. And what makes that significant is that this person who is recognized as the chief hegemon of the whole colonial enterprise is popularizing or re-popularizing colonialism among these European powers. That's part of what it is doing. Macron used to do that. And that's one of the problems he ran into in the Sahel, when he would go and talk about people should be happy that France brought colonialism to us, etc. This is what they want to popularize again. And it is being popularized by another name. And so this is what we're looking at right now. And one of the things that that has happened is with the assassination of this right-wing person in Utah, where somebody said that there are more Black people in the Chicago Bulls than there are in Utah. But that's another story. The point is, Utah has for a long time been a place of escape for people who want to live white nationalist existence. And it has called on white people to come there, and there are whole settlements where white people live in Utah. But anyway, this assassination of this man in Utah, which happened in public view, which immediately was shared on social media, which was shocking. It's shocking to see anybody get killed. That's why they don't show you people being executed in prison and what have you, because they don't want you to be shocked, because you have to come face to face with your own mortality, your own humanity. But they can allow this. You don't even see most instances while they would let you see 900 dead people out of Jonestown, Guyana, when during that process, you won't see places where 900 white people have been killed. They are really careful not to allow people to see that and to even form opinions that that might be acceptable. But this instance, they wanted the world to see it, and they wanted to shock the settlers, the white people in this country and much of the world. So it is true that from the perspective of the ruling class, there's a real serious escalation of political violence that's happening in this country. Of course, for them to say that, they would have to leave out the murder of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party, the mob violence that created the Ku Klux Klan, the Ku Klux Klanist activities, and the fact that Woodrow Wilson, who was the president of the United States at the time, was that 1919, sometime where he showed this movie. What was the movie that came to be Birth of a Nation, that helped to popularize and build the Ku Klux Klan? This is historic. This is part of what happens in this country and has happened for a very long time, what happens in the world. So our lives are something that has been used for the production of life for the colonizers and not for ourselves. And a problem is that something that they've been concerned about for a while now. In 1920, I think it was, or 1919, there's something that they have every year in Munich, Germany, that's called the Munich Conference, where leaders from all over the world, colonizers, parliamentarians, people who are in government, etc., come to Munich, Germany, to examine how things are and where the world is heading, and what they should do to make it head in the right directions. 1919 or 1920, they came up with something they call a fear of what they call Westlessness. Westlessness. It's worth mentioning this because they include as part of the West, Europe, America, New Zealand, Australia. All of this is the West. In other words, whitelessness is what they were talking about. And one thing that makes this of a particular interest to us is during the trial that we had, one of the things that the government accused me of, they even used some quote, I don't remember the exact quote, from me that was talking about the West, about the struggle that we're involved in with the West, etc. And this is something they're quite conscious of. Now, why do I mention this? I mention it because they want to act like this thing that you and I have seen on TV, where mobs of torch-carrying white people have been marching through the streets, saying stuff, you will not replace me, etc., that they like to refer to as some kind of replacement theory among rabble, among white rabble, uneducated rabble. But the fact is, it's not uneducated rabble. They're talking about this in Munich. Zuckerberg, by the way, was at the Munich conference that I'm talking about. And this is a guy who controls Facebook and shadow bans us and keeps us off, etc. So a problem that we have is they talk about how I think it was in what was it? I really want to be pretty accurate when I make this quote, and I don't want to talk about it much longer. I want to go ahead and end this presentation. But I think it's really important for you to know, excuse me, that that one of the concerns that they're dealing with in this country right now. And it's not just this country, it's in Europe altogether, but specific to this country. One of the concerns, as reported in, as relayed in this journal called Foreign Affairs. Foreign Affairs is a journal that was created by the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission was organized and led by the Rockefellers. You know what I'm saying? The look it up. This is where Foreign Affairs, and it was trilateral because it included the United States, Asia, and Europe. And these are people who were defining the world and how it should go. That publication has been around for a very, very long time. Even Lenin has read that publication. W.E.B. Du Bois wrote something for that publication. So it's been around for a very long time, giving direction and leadership to the rulers in this country. But the thing is that part of what they concluded in this, what they reported on rather, is that there's a crisis in this country that contributes to what they consider the political violence. Again, that political violence doesn't count on what they do to us, doesn't account for starvation, poverty, the things that we have to live with on a regular basis. They said, for them, they talked first of all about how there's a guy who wrote this article. His name is Robert Pape. He's a professor of political science and the director of the University of Chicago Project on Security and Threats. This appeared in the newspaper, in their journal in 2024. And he says that a huge number of people in this country, he's talking about Americans, which translates into white people, now find violence acceptable. Political violence is acceptable. He says that the ones who they are reporting on, many of them hail from the middle and upper class with nice homes and college education. The country's fight over its national identity, talking about the national identity of the country, that's what the fight is about, he said has multiple dimensions. And he says, but the most serious is demographic change. In 1990, 76% of the US population identified as white. In 1990, 76% of the US population identified as white. In 2023, the Census Bureau put that figure at a little over 58%. By 2035, the share is set to fall to 54%. A decade later, it will dip below 50%. So by 2045, they are predicting that white people will only account for 45% of the, is that it? 45% of below 50% anyway of the people in this country. So this is something that creates an existential crisis because these are settlers. These are settlers. This is a settler colony that they have come to. This is why they will not allow the Palestinians the right to return. The Palestinians come, there are more Palestinians than there are Europeans. This is why there's this assault. The military forces at the border. The Mexicans are able to come. The people of the South come to this country. It impacts on the population, the demographic content of this country. This is why they have prisons filled with African people, because it's a form of birth control to prevent the birth of African people. Look at who they put in prison. Look at the birth. They talk about from something like a third of every African between the age of 18 and 35 in this country is going to go to prison. Those are baby making years. This is how old was Mike Brown? How old are these people who they're killing? We are the demographic threat and what have you. And this is why you see bombing of abortion clinics. This is why there's an assault on the rights of white women. You can't have those rights anymore. We want you back in the kitchen making babies, something to that effect. So they are attempting to deal with this demographic change. And of course, we can tell them how to deal with the demographic change. You don't have to be violent. Just do what it takes to make babies. And in case you've forgotten, I learned it when I was 10 years old. Do what it takes to make babies, etc. That's something, I guess, that's found a little uncomfortable. But anyway, I wanted to just say that that's a real existential crisis. That's a real existential crisis if they become a minority, when white people become the minority. That's why this convention is important. That's why the solidarity movement is so important. That's why it's important that we are absolutely clear of what it is that we're fighting against, because I believe that it's possible. And we've seen it in other instances where there was not such an immediate interest at stake, where white people have been able to unite with the struggle against colonialism. They've had problems uniting with the African struggle in this country against colonialism, because the problem is back to identity. The issue is, if I'm an African, who the hell are they? This is a question that they have to be able to ask and answer. But I think that this is why ideological clarity is so important. This, as opposed to a struggle against racism, which can be perceived and experienced as a struggle against whiteness, and white people can be perceived as calling on white people to struggle against themselves. We say struggle against colonialism. This is the thing that we have to win. This is why why ideology is so important. This is why revolutionary organization is so important. This is why in the African People's Socialist Party, we're talking about changing the world and not just talking about it. This is why we need cadre, special forces who are willing to come on to the work. This is the significance of International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Not just a group of people who come together, but a group of people who are committed to actually engaging and changing the world, changing the conditions that we live in. This is why we are going to have to help the people understand what the contradictions are in our communities, so that people people. This is what the longest period of time to make this contest with them at the critical point, because the way that the African petty bourgeoisie achieve what is considered leadership by anybody in the world is through the elections, the electoral process. And that's one of the things that we have been able to do in our movement, Black is Back Coalition. Comrade Jesse Nevel running first time in the history of this work in this country where reparations was part of an election campaign. Comrade Achille Nai, who came out against gentrification as part of her program, created a situation where at the Hilton Hotel, at a mayor's debate, they sent 27 carloads of police to break up the debate because of what we were talking about. So anyway, we're going to have to fight them there. We're going to have to fight them in the electoral process. We're going to have to fight them, make them defend their politics before the mass of people. They cannot monopolize that space without our intervention. So I just want to say that, and we're going to have to fight for democracy. That's why we say hands off Uhuru and hands off Africa. Uhuru, thank you, comrade.
I just want to really appreciate the chairman for that presentation and laying it out, laying it out plain. This is our work. This is what we got to do. And again, cheers to a dying colonialism. Oh, okay. I got something for y'all tomorrow too. But the culture gonna be good. Next we will have Matsamela with membership and funding appeal.
Uhuru! Uhuru! Oh, pass me those, sorry. All right, Uhuru. So, it's not a. I say, I could two-step though. I let y'all know I could do it. Yeah, y'all not this. We're in the city of soul right here. Hey, you see, it be the ones closest to you, so I need to take a step this way. They be the ones closest to you, I tell you. But something about being in St. Louis, I want to big up St. Louis because something about being in St. Louis that St. Louis claim they own, don't they? Dante, I tried to tell somebody, I was like, oh, I told McKay, I was like, you look like Maya Angelou. I call you McKay the Angelou. And I said, yes. I said, Makeda. So and I was like, I was like, she's from Arkansas. They said, They said, where's she from, FoFeet? She from St. Louis, man. St. Louis folks will tell you who from St. Louis, won't they? The St. Louis folks be like, oh, he's from St. Louis. You ain't even talking about the person, whether, yes, I know. She from St. Louis. She from St. Louis. But no, but this is so important. FoFeet got a poetry book coming out. And one thing about this is that sort of St. Louis is such an important place in the struggle against colonialism because as Chairman has noted, it was the staging ground for the attack against indigenous people, and it was central to the westward movement of the colonial enslavement of African people. This is what they call that the Compromise of 1820, the Missouri Compromise,
and all that stuff. But even before then, to be honest, the Spanish were here, the French were here, all claiming this territory. But also African people. You know, this is one place where I noticed, like, this is why it's an important place, and we'll get into that tomorrow when we look at the growth of the different branches. But this is really important because it's the only place really outside of, say, parts of the U.S. South and maybe parts of the East, but it's different back east, where you can find African people's families have been here in the area for a long, long time, for a long, long time, right? You know, of course, and that gives us the opportunity to do the work that we do here, especially with comrades like Westbrook, comrades like FoFeet, who from here, they known, they speak like everybody here. You know, they say "dirt." What's the words y'all be using out here? And her, and then you got the people. Then you got the people from across the river, the people like Makeda, because they're like, "Oh, I'm from East St. Louis. I'm from East St. Louis." Y'all be on this side for your life, that side for 12 years, and they be like, "Well, I'm from the East side." But no, African culture, African politics is really important for the InPDUM convention to be here. So I decided to, begin a little bit by reading the call, even though that wasn't necessarily in the plan, and then we'll move through because I do think that the call gives some purpose to why we're here. We've talked about this already, and our PowerPoint and our presentation will speak to this. But I said that in the call for the convention that while the current global crisis rages, InPDUM and the Uhuru Movement are excited because we have been preparing for this moment for decades. Recent victories of the Uhuru Three, the rapid growth on the African continent, and the very real work we are leading towards African independence in St. Louis and throughout North America prove the correctness of our strategy and our trajectory. That's why we were very happy to organize this convention, and we said that this was our time. Let's seize it, right? During the African Revolution in the 60s, they talk about seizing the time, seizing the time. Well, this is the time we've been waiting for, right? As Chairman talked about InPDUM, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement is a revolutionary mass organization under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And inside your packets, you all have copies of the chairman's address to the 1991 founding of the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, in which he lays down the fact that, the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, now International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, is an organization that struggles for the democratic rights of African people, and it's to make sure that struggle is no longer in the hands of the African petty bourgeoisie. Just like Comrade. Okay, it is raining hard, everybody outside. Y'all know that St. Louis weather, it's like 90 degrees, but it's raining. So if you do have your windows down, you might want to go out and roll up your windows. So that's correct. All right, right on. So InPDUM was formed to bring the masses of African people back into political life after the military defeat of the Black Power movement. Our motto is self-determination is the highest expression of democracy. So that's why, as we noted already, this year, 2025, is the 40th anniversary of the founding of the local organization, People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, in Oakland, California. As we noted, PDUM was consolidated as a U.S.-wide organization in 1991 as the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and as InPDUM, with the N, was established, branches in Canada and Europe, and eventually occupied Tanzania, it became the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Now, over the last 4 decades, we have taken many forms with no less than 20. We are in no less than 20 states now, 70 cities in the U.S. We are on at least 3 continents. in at least 10 countries, and the number really is growing. We're going to hear from comrades like Thato out of South Africa about why they joined the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Sierra Leone, Namibia, Zambia, Botswana, Swaziland, occupied Tanzania. We even got a member that's in Asia. You think he's originally from Georgia, but he's in Asia now. InPDUM is the leading mass organization for the struggle for democratic rights of African people around the world. Imperialism is in a real state of crisis, which Chairman laid out. The colonizers are tearing down their own institutions and waging war on colonized workers. And since we initiate this call, we know they put that pedal to the metal in many different ways. Inside the U.S. and around the world, Chairman Omali Yeshitela has summed this up as the uneasy equilibrium. And if you don't have a copy of Uneasy Equilibrium, you need to get you a copy. Leave with a copy of that. Like I said, if it was religious, we say it was prophetic. In moments of colonial crisis like this, though, it's our duty to tip the system over, not prop it up. Africans have to take these attacks, have not taken these attacks lightly. All around the world, Africans are rising up. InPDUM is born out of the struggle for democratic rights and Black community control. InPDUM is the result of a long history of Uhuru Movement organizing. We talked about that. We talked about how it was in April 1977 that Chairman issued the historic speech, The Political Aspects of Building a Mass Movement, which gave shape to the mass organizing of the Uhuru Movement, which culminates with the organizations such as the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, but goes back to the African National Prison Organization and African National Reparations Organization. Now we know InPDUM, we know that we can lead our people to victory at this moment because we were born in a moment of struggle similar to ours today. But the important thing for us to understand is that colonialism is much weaker, right? The shakiness, the crisis has only exemplified, but we've grown stronger in that process as well. Chairman Omali has noted, so Chairman noted this in An Uneasy Equilibrium, that U.S. President Ronald Reagan rose to power with the promise to make America great again. Reagan had made his mark with massive cutbacks and layoffs. But it's also coming out of the 1981 Congress that the party responded to this with the Bread, Peace, and Black Power campaign and by declaring, they say cutback, we say payback. This strategy opposed the liberal left defensive postures that keep Africans tethered to the colonial state's welfare programs. And if anything, these attacks against public education, public welfare, healthcare, all this other stuff should be even more insistence for African people to do for ourselves. This strategy, so it was following the community control of housing campaign that the People's Democratic platform was crafted. So the PDP was a 5-point program, later extended to 7, that outlined the democratic demands. This included employment, Black community control of police, a pushback against the designer drug laws that had been created to attack the African community. There were other organizations at that moment that I do think at this moment we can even consider drafting as committees for InPDUM, such as African Community Defense Committees that emerged at that time. So this call right here is for you all to join in the counteroffensive and help us build the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. So let's go on and pull up that slide presentation. We've spoken to this quite a bit. So to save just a little bit of time, let's move down to slide 10. We'll watch excerpts of the video that looks at the history, InPDUM's history of resistance. Uhuru.
So we are a revolutionary organization. We believe that if one wants to know what it will take for us to become free, all we have to do is look at history and see what it took for us to become enslaved. If we find any place in our history that we voted ourselves into slavery, then I say let's go and get together and vote ourselves the hell out of slavery. And if we can find any place in history where we sang our way into it, then let's sing our way out of it. But the reality, that is not the case, sisters and brothers. The reality is that we are going to have to cut, shoot, and bomb our way out of the circumstances that we find ourselves confronted with. And I know that's not something that everybody wants to hear, and it's not something that a lot of folk want to hear. But it's the truth nevertheless. This is not a suggestion at this meeting that once you're on your way out, we're going to be handing out AK-47s for people to go out and do your thing. Reality is I'd be extremely afraid to pass out AK-47s in the community because I'd be afraid that I'd probably become one of the first victims of the AK-47. In other words, there's a lot of work that we have to do in the interim. But having said that there's a lot of work we have to do, we have to also remember that our objective is total, absolute liberation for our people. And you can't have it any other way. There's no way that you can talk about sharing the power over your lives with somebody else and then feeling like you got a right to complain about what somebody does to you. Either you want the power or you don't.
30 years ago, in April of 1991, the African People's Socialist Party initiated the founding convention of the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, later to become the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. That historic convention opened on April 6, 1991, the 23rd anniversary of the brutal police killing of 17-year-old Black Panther Party member Lil Bobbie Hutton. The African People's Socialist Party's motivation for founding InPDUM was clear. The struggle for the liberation of our people had to be revived after it was militarily defeated. The masses of oppressed African people in the U.S. had to be brought back into active, conscious, independent political life. The counterinsurgency that had come with our defeat began an era of mass demoralization, disorganization, dispersal, and chemical warfare in the form of the imposition of a drug economy that had to be exposed and defeated. Since then, InPDUM has been fighting for the democratic rights of the oppressed and exploited African community all over the world. In 1966, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, then known as Joe Waller, was jailed for ripping the mural down that hung in the St. Petersburg City Hall that negatively depicted African people entertaining white people with enlarged facial features.
Yeah.
At the same time, we have struggled tooth and nail to rebuild a revolutionary organizational capacity capable of representing the genuine interests of our oppressed people. It has been a road of struggle that has taken us into every imaginable venue, from the chambers of the city halls of various major cities where we challenge neo-colonial politicians who sell out the black community for crumbs, to the courtrooms where our people are railroaded by the U.S. justice system, to the sidewalks in the freezing cold and unbearable heat conditions. InPDUM has been there fighting every step of the way. We have made it impossible for imperialism to know peace within its own system. We have not struggled simply for justice for one person, but to win reparations, economic and political power for the entire African nation.
Not until every African man, woman, and child is free to be themselves in a world where Black power has risen will InPDUM stop the resistance. InPDUM has years of resistance and a history of fighting back for the African working class. We supported the movement to free Fred Hampton Jr., framed up in Chicago in the 1990s. In 1996, InPDUM represented organizational leadership for the African working class when young Africans from the south side of St. Petersburg rose up in resistance against the point-blank police murder of 18-year-old Tyrone Lewis during a traffic stop. 3 weeks later, following the grand jury's exoneration of the police, the community again rose up to defend the Uhuru House from a military attack.
The response was to slander that brother, to isolate and criminalize our movement, and then to indict us, to send us to prison.
Because of our stance of defending our people, the cops attacked our headquarters in an attempt to crush our movement. They failed. And we prevailed. The community rose up to defeat the police in what has come to be known as the Battle of St. Petersburg. InPDUM is internationally known for leading the African resistance. We are in Africa, Sierra Leone, Bahamas, Germany, and London. In 2005, we supported the struggle for justice for Ori Jallo, a young African man who was burned to death while in police custody in Germany. In Miami in 2006, 7 young African men were captured by the FBI after being framed by provocateurs who were recruited to brand them as terrorists in a U.S. Justice Department campaign. InPDUM was the first to organize in their defense. From 2007 to 2009, in Oakland, we stood courageously in defense of Oscar Grant, Andrew Maupin, Leslie Xavier Allen, Casper Banjo, Jose Luis Buenrostro Gonzalez, Mac Jody Woodfox, and Anita Gay, all murdered by police violence. In 2008, it was InPDUM who led a protest against the U.S. presidential candidate Barack Obama during a town hall meeting he held at Gibbs High School in St. Petersburg. In that action, InPDUM raised up the question heard around the world: what about the Black community, Obama? In Bronson, Florida in 2012, InPDUM led a powerful struggle to free Eric Oliver, an 18-year-old African who was arrested and charged with assault for defending himself and his family by beating down a white lynch mob who came to lynch his younger brother. InPDUM has fought for Black community control of schools. In 2013, we waged a successful campaign to free baby Dylan from the clutches of Pennsylvania Hospital, where the doctors forced the baby to take morphine against the wishes of his mother. In August of 2014, InPDUM rose from the ashes of the Ferguson Rebellion, where the African working class took to the streets and fought back. After the acquittal of Darren Wilson, Black people of Ferguson, led by the African People's Socialist Party and InPDUM, led the Black People's Grand Jury and put him back on trial and found him guilty of the murder of Michael Brown. The launch of Africans Charged Genocide campaign came shortly after the assassination of Mike Brown. In 2015, InPDUM braved the frigid temperatures of the Northeast region, sleeping in tents on the Africans Charged Genocide Winter Encampment Tour to follow the United Nations. The president of InPDUM spoke to the United Nations panel of experts on behalf of the African working class on the conditions we face in the United States. The war being waged on the Flint, Michigan residents once again sent InPDUM to the front line with the message of Africans Charged Genocide campaign to let our people know that this was genocide. On March 31st, 2016, in St. Petersburg, Florida, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department drowned 3 teenaged African girls, Dominique Battle, Lanaya Miller, and Ashanti Butler by chasing them and ramming the back of their car into a pond. We have fought fiercely to get justice in the form of Black community control of the police, reparations to the families, and the immediate resignation of Sheriff Killer Bob Gaultieri and the other guilty sheriff's deputies with the 3 Drowned Black Girls campaign.
InPDUM led the Keep 28 campaign against ward reduction. The Northside is being targeted by gentrifiers and parasitic land developers to build their condominiums. They want the Black community out, but we say,
to hell with that. To hell with that.
InPDUM recognized that reducing the wards wasn't just an attack on the 28 aldermen, and it wasn't just an attack on jobs, but it was an attack on the Black community and self-determination. Reducing the number of wards from 28 to 14 would dilute the Black voting power and concentrate the voting power into the hands of the ruling class, the white community, and its parasitic gentrifiers. InPDUM responded to this attack on the Black community with the launch of the Keep 28 campaign, creating a petition to keep 28 aldermanic wards and hosting weekly Keep 28 rallies. InPDUM brought the fight against ward reduction to the St. Louis Legislation Committee themselves, marching into City Hall with the call, Keep 28 is a fight for Black power.
What is happening now is the African community in North St. Louis is about to be starved to death. The only time y'all release finances is when y'all uproot us. 114 million y'all decided to uproot us. Then spent $1.75 billion. I could see if y'all would have put $1.75 billion in the North Side, believe you me, it would be much different now. But when you restrict finances from coming in, and they get dilapidated, then you get certain aldermen to say, let us do something about it. Well, this is what you can do about it. Step up out of the way.
Just want y'all to know, the Keep 28 campaign is up for a fight against this reduction. We will fight, we will mobilize, and we will bust out to make sure that this is not a reality for our babies. Because our babies do not deserve to continue to live in the same oppression that's brought by the capitalists and the imperialists. We tired of it. And we ain't taking it no more.
InPDUM crossed paths with longtime community organizer Jesse Todd.
All right, so there's more we're going to hear because we're going to hear from Comrade Jesse. I did want us to see that part with Comrade Westbrook because next up, change to the next slide, we're going to hear some poetry from the Young Israel slash Comrade Westbrook. So if we go back to the previous slide and even probably refresh, because there's a couple slides that's supposed to be skip worthy. But yeah, so Comrade Westbrook, everybody, let's
Hey, go on, put that picture. Put a young man back at. Put that picture back up. Wasn't that a handsome young man? Oh, they hate it, man. They hate it. I don't think I will ever get that beautiful black hair back, but nevertheless, how y'all doing today? Doing good, even though rain came on out and rain on our parade, we still having a damn good time, ain't we? Uhuru. We heard from a lot of dynamic speakers today. And so I feel to hurry up and sit down so we could finish listening to some dynamic speakers. Is that fine? Uhuru. Y'all know this song. It's called Imagine the Day. Imagine the Day. Uhuru? Okay. Oh, no. Uhuru. What you say? Imagine a day we don't have to cry no more. Imagine a day we gonna walk down the school without being killed or harassed by the cold. Don't worry about it. Our day coming real soon. We're gonna be able to feed our big clothes. I know you're tired of living dirt poor. Colonial oppressor system must go. Reaching and leeching all in your household. I know you're tired of this shit. That's why we demand they quit. Occupying our community with an iron fist. We got pits burned down Ferguson, but they still haven't got to the iron hands. Cause they said they leave us dead on this pavement. Stop the chance. Instead of blaming them, we blame our own kind. Why we hate our own kind? Who taught you to hate your own kind? He taught you to hate us. We're ready. We back in the day. We gonna overturn the contradictions in our community. Never mind the song say we want to life. I'm saying, here is a lot of songs saying. Cry more. The mass of other people still going through. We need more textbooks in your metaphor. Madagascar, Somalia, around the horn. One region is blessed, other one is torn. Back here in this hill, bankers out mama on. Sell them, get rich, sins like on. Baby had an arm, Gaza, Syria, living on. World fight for them, but what about us? When I mention Africa, they say what the fuss. Well, they didn't see the world will never have peace as long as Africa not free. Almighty said, we your liberation now, don't leave it for the next generation. Don't that make sense? We real liberation in all lifetime. Be a star, right? All right, so that's hot. That's hot. Man, I really like that. And no, this is the first time I ever heard you perform. You said raise your hand. This is the first time you heard Westbrook perform that.
Now he's done.
Well, you know.
We're from St. Louis, though.
Exactly. Hey, I just want to give a shout out to InPDUM because I love InPDUM St. Louis. First time I came to a convention out here, you know, it must have been Makeda. Somebody brought fish and spaghetti, and that fish and spaghetti came out that with the onions and the pickles and all that stuff, and
Single meal, not no 2 meals. That's a single meal.
yes. That's single meal. Well, actually, it was a double meal because it was enough for everybody in there, but people had double portions on their plate. So I was used to California. So I'm thinking, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna get that or is this a trick? Because in California, you go get some stuff in the Africans in the conscious community, like, you gonna eat that? Brother, don't you understand? Then don't have an NOI person in there let you see that you put that catfish on your plate, you know. So I'm thinking, I'm hesitating. Do not hesitate. You come out here to St. Louis, you run some Africans, do not hesitate. I looked up and remember how fast that stuff went? At that turn up, that stuff was gone. People was buying pies, you know, buying pies as sustenance, and the pies went. So that was a heck of an event. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. That was clean. That was clean. That's the creative unity that we have and the way through which you molded African internationalism into it. I really appreciate that. So now let's move forward in this presentation. We're moving towards the appeal section of our presentation, slide number 15. Our goal for this weekend is to raise $5,000. Of which we have already started along on the way. We're going to have Comrade Chinonye pass out these envelopes. Inside the envelopes, you'll find a pledge card, and inside the pledge card, you can pledge at a variety of different levels. Whether you're going to do a sustainership, a one-time donation, or even other with your contact information. After you fill out your pledge card, make sure you give it back to Comrade Chinonye. And like I said, even if it's a pledge, that don't mean, you got a rack on you right now. That don't mean that, but that might mean that over the next year, here's what you can unite with helping to build the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. For people who are interested, you can go to InPDUM.org/donate. Also, if you go to Cash App, $InPDUM,
But I want to first, before we go into that appeal, I want to salute our Marcus Garvey members. Uhuru. Marcus Garvey lifetime membership is the only lifetime membership in the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and I'm holding this. I think it's supposed to go here, but I feel like y'all can. It's the only lifetime membership in the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. It comes with a lot of different privileges, such as a permanent. Look at that baby. Did you see her yet, Chairman? Did you see the baby yet? You got him. Yeah. So I'm gonna keep going. But it's the only lifetime membership in the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. It comes with a lot of different privileges. One of them is a gift at our annual convention. And I just let y'all know I am in a war right now with FedEx, because FedEx, these things supposed to be delivered 3 days ago. Yesterday they said the shipment came in, but they delivered two of all the mugs. But nevertheless, this year we want to honor all of our InPDUM lifetime members with this mug right here, which is like I said, InPDUM allows people to take InPDUM, their InPDUM lifetime membership with them. And so it's like I said, it's got the InPDUM logo with Marcus Garvey emerging out of it, and then underneath it says InPDUM lifetime member. So we are. They do say that the rest are going to come today, and we're going to honor all of our Marcus Garvey members with them. I want to begin today by giving these two gifts to Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela and Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and we found some keys. So if anyone lost some keys, please come up to the podium to collect your keys. So we want to salute our InPDUM lifetime members. Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela, Comrade Chimaranga Silambao. And Comrade Chairman Omali is the one person, the longest standing InPDUM president. He's the person that took InPDUM even internationally into South Africa in 2001 when he attended the Durban conference down there. And our motto is you never leave empty handed. And he left with two branches. The first two branches of InPDUM in occupied Tanzania were in Johannesburg, Soweto to be specific, and Durban. Comrade Penny Hess. We got Secretary General Mwezi Odom. I think she's in the back. She's in the house. So salute Secretary General Mwezi. Out of Philadelphia, we got Comrade Matum. In the house right now, we got Comrade Jesse Todd. Uhuru. And you'll hear from Comrade Jesse coming up. We got Comrade FoFeet, Ushairi, Kebulon, Comrade Kabula Matumbo, Kitty Riley, also in the house. Maureen Wagner, also in the house. And there's a name that everyone hears, and sometimes people associate the Comrade with donating, but the truth is the Comrade every single Saturday says, I'm going out to the local farmer's market. And if the Comrade sells 2 spears, you know what? That Comrade gives a report and sends the $2 into the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. The Comrade has won people to register virtually. So the Comrade is an on-the-ground Comrade. That's Comrade MQ out of Florida. Comrade Kanji, now in Georgia. Comrade V. Queen. Comrade Janice Kent over in Florida as well. Let's get a round of applause. Comrade Lisa, I just talked to Comrade Marissa the other day. Comrade Shabaka is in Philadelphia as well, longtime founding InPDUM member, if I'm correct. And then we got some new Marcus Garvey members since our last convention. We're going to give a shout out. Raise your hand, everybody, for everybody. Comrade Chinonye, Comrade Chino. So I think some of y'all might not have met Chino before. We're going to have Chino come up speak on why Chino joined InPDUM. Comrade Emmanuel Maku. The silent assassin, that's Comrade Emmanuel Maku. And a comrade, we need to get him in here after he's done packing up everything. I call him the Marcus Garvey member loading. So he started off his process of his year-long donation. That's Comrade Gregory Reed. Yeah. So you know what, FoFeet, we're gonna hear from we're gonna bring you up, FoFeet, but out of respect for the comrades' time, let's hear first off from Comrade Thato out of occupied Azania. So Comrade Thato, you there? Are they still there? And if not, then what we'll do is we'll get Comrade Thato back on, because Comrade Thato is going to speak from occupied Azania why she joined the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. So Comrade Thato is not on just yet. We'll do some connection if need be. I'll even bring them in through WhatsApp. So in the meanwhile, let's bring up Comrade FoFeet. Uhuru. Okay, Comrade Thato.
Wait.
Comrade Thato. And you know, we're looking at awards, and somebody said to me, you know what, Comrade Thato, I think Comrade Thato won the Uhuru Swag Award. It's only a small icon, but you can see the way in which Comrade Thato. So, Comrade Thato, you might be muted if you are trying to speak. Okay. So let's bring up FoFeet. I'll get on the horn and contact Comrade Tafari and just to get everything in order. But Uhuru, FoFeet. There she is. Okay. Hey, there we go.
All right.
Comrade Thato. Okay, you had it. You had it. Yeah, there we go.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Uhuru comrades, firstly, I would like to salute the leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. I'm Thato from South Africa, Kokosi branch. So I had a quite negative thinking about the politicals and all that because of the leaders I had before. So after I met Director Tafari, he introduced me to the InPDUM, which I was not actually interested, but the more I learned, the more I saw how important it is for me to join. It was quite an experience because I was surrounded by the brothers only, and they made it even easier for me. So I started being more active into the party, even started the program, the children program, which is still going on right now. So we have our own garden, we have our own group, and it's going so well. And so far we also have the fitness club, which is something that I never had as a child. When I grew up, I didn't even have the knowledge of what is really the political party. And what I wish for these kids that I have and teaching is that they know the real political party and they learn more about themselves instead of doubting themselves. And I wish that they could also understand the world that we are living in a very different way and in a real way. Because mostly we are told some things that we don't even understand. Being in the InPDUM has made a lot of impact on me because I've grown to be someone I never thought I will be. Being proud of myself, the way I am, who I am, and my roots, trying to learn about myself, which is something I never got proud of. I was never proud of how my hair looked. I was never proud of working out proudly, but right now I'm very proud of myself and I'm very proud of the kids that I have. We have a lot of programs going on, and most of them we do take videos and pictures. So yes, I will really appreciate the Chairman Omali for this party that I am in, and for his leadership, that someone who belittled herself like me can be this proud and be ready to lead and, you know, push this whole thing of organization. Most people, when you tell them about the Uhuru movement, they don't understand because they never been in our shoes. So the more I encourage more sisters, the more I know that they will also be proud as I am. Yeah, Uhuru.
Uhuru. So yeah, that you want to say anything, Chair, about that? I don't want to put you on the spot, but there's so much to unpack there.
Uhuru,
Uhuru.
I just wanted to express my deep, profound appreciation to Comrade Sister Thato. And that baby knows my voice.
Yeah.
Every time. And the incredible work that's happening there in occupied Tanzania, South Africa, not just there, but the work that Comrade Tafari is leading throughout the continent of Africa. Also, it was important to hear her talk about the programs, not just being there, but the garden, the work they're doing with the children, the fitness stuff that's happening. This is who we are. This is the Uhuru movement. So I just wanted to express appreciation for that and how that is so representative of all the work that's happening in occupied Tanzania. I see Comrade Asa's name on there, Asa Ampu, who does some really exciting, extraordinary political education, and which we have to make more available in terms of his presentation. They're just extraordinary. Comrade Tafari, who is leading us all over Africa, who's put us in all over Africa. And we win a place, if we lose it, we go back. We get that place, we get another place, etc. And Sister Thato, I just want to express my appreciation to you and for the work that you're doing there. And to just say that that we're winning. And Israel too. And yes, Africa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's move forward. Uhuru.
Right on, right on, right on. And what made me think about that, Chairman, is well, yeah, I just appreciate that. I appreciate that. Now I'm going to bring up Comrade FoFeet. Comrade FoFeet is going to present. I want to see that step.
I got
it.
Uhuru, Comrade. First of all, I want to say how proud I am to be a member of the Uhuru Movement, thanks to Chairman Omali Yeshitela. How much I appreciate the workings of the work that the movement does, thanks to my first lady, DC owner. The things that came, like, only African people deserve the best. You get the best because you are the best. And I say you because I'm speaking as a whole. I was a nurse, poet. I still am a nurse, poet, budding writer, internet radio show host. But what I was looking for from probably high school was some answers to questions about the world. Why did it seem that every African at that time, every Black person lived in a area with with nothing, no stores, no video stores, everything was not in the neighborhood. There was nothing in the neighborhood. And when I was in school, that long ago, we had street phones. You had to go to the pay phones and make a call if you needed to catch up with somebody, or you had a phone at home that didn't go on your hip or in your pocket. So with changing times, nothing was changing for us. We trying to figure out, okay, what career can we get just to be able to pay the bills and feed our families? And if you were a woman or a young girl that wasn't married and had children, that was a double problem. So that put you in a position to where you would have to endure somebody just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Or you'd have to endure somebody just to have a roof over your head, or to feed your children. It was not pretty, and a lot of it is still not now. So unless you choose a career that can supply the things that you need, it was like nothing ever changed. So my goal was to try to find out, okay, what can I do? First of all, who am I? What can I do to bring prosperity or just normalcy, which I didn't know what that was either, because I was colonized. And being colonized, everything is not written on your standard. They're written on somebody else's standard, where we always fell short. There was never, if you had to do something 3 times better just to get a little bit of credit. So I kept wondering, and I wondered. And then at my 60th birthday party, it was a great event. But afterwards, there was still nothing answered for me. A few months later, unfortunately, or the way the universe made it happen, Mike Brown got murdered. I was out of town, but when I came back, my cousin said, Chairman Omali is in town and he wants to have a rally. I said, what's a rally? She said, well, it's where he meet people and give him the line. I said, okay, what do you need from me? She said, I need you to do culture, because she knew anytime there was a microphone, I was on it. I said, okay. That's when I met Comrade Makeda, doing the same thing, doing culture. So we were at Legacy that night, and I met everybody that ended up being the first gathering of unit, InPDUM unit that night. But Chairman answered everything that I had been running around in my head for over 60 years. Well, I'll say 58, because I had to get up there. My children were grown. I had grandchildren that were babies. He asked, it took that long for me to cross the bridge to myself, because at that point I could look in the mirror and see my history. Not that didn't start with slavery, but my history started in Africa. I saw how my history got to here and everywhere else around the world. I saw the answers that my children are doing, how they're doing in school. The older I got, I found out my kids went to college. Well, my son started, but the school he went to did not equip him for college. The same school my daughter went to, it did not equip them for college. And they both told me, they said, Mama, they didn't get us ready. They made A's and B's and honors, but they could not do something as simple as pass English. My daughter had to take extra classes just to get through her freshman year. But after that, it was cool saving. So what I'm saying is, the school that I went to was a Black school. Matter of fact, it's Sumner High School here in St. Louis. And it is the oldest high school, Black high school on this side of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
Westbrook is so St. Louis. His whole makeup is so St. Louis. If you can understand Westbrook, you can understand St. Louis, for the simple reason St. Louis, Missouri is the show me state. And I mean, you have to turn flips just to show them. But what I'm trying to say is, wherever you are, whatever you do, the best thing I ever did in the first, and I'm not crazy, because when I heard him, I joined that night. That first night, I said, he's telling me some stuff that I didn't know and answers I've been trying to find. And if I don't stay here and learn more, I'm going to be lost again. So with that being said, I am a Marcus Garvey member.
Well,
I am a Marcus Garvey member of InPDUM, International People Democratic Uhuru Movement. And if you're on any level, I came in at the basic level, then I went to the Assad Shakur level, and then Comrade DC said, Comrade, why you paying that $300, $600 a year when you could do $1,000 and be done with paying for it? I said, that makes sense. So I became a Marcus Garvey member. And what I'm telling you, if you're a basic level, if you on a second level, or whatever level you on, if you're not a Marcus Garvey member, you are missing out on, oh my God, what can I say? You are missing out. And you know what? We don't like to miss out. We want all that's coming to us and some extra. So what I'm asking you to do is, on that card, move it up a level. If you are at one, go up a level or go up 2 levels. You need to be a Marcus Garvey level before 2026. Because I'm going to tell you, InPDUM here on the ground, we doing the damn thing, y'all. We doing the damn thing. And on top of that, we are growing in a way. I've noticed that with poetry, when there is a lot of chaos, I mean more chaos than normal, going on in the world, everybody wants to hear some poetry. When there is more things going on in your life than the normal chaos, you need to do something. And right now, there's more stuff going on than the normal. You need to get up. You need to join. You need to move your level up, because when you move your level up, that means your interest and your fight back is worth it. With that being said, I'm committing $1,000 today to the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, because you know what? I'm already a Marcus Garvey member, but I believe in this movement right here in St. Louis, getting it on, getting it up, because they put their feet on our necks, and we gotta cut them off at the ankle. All right, we gotta cut them off at the ankle. And with that, I'm gonna say, comrades, we doing the damn thing. Uhuru, Uhuru. All right, move your level up, and you people that are listening, move it up too. We can count you too. With that, I'm gonna give this back to my president, Uhuru.
Uhuru. Right on. So we really want to thank that. I'm going to move it just a little bit ahead, because I really want to acknowledge all of the different donations of support that are coming in, and they're still coming in. If you do have a card and you would like to donate that way, we do have the ability locally here to take donations on Square. So just note on your card, on your pledge card, that you'd like to make a card donation, and we'll do that. So there's slowly coming in already, but we want to say that we got a $5,000 goal. And first off, I want to take a step back and raise your hand, Comrade Ali Haney. So give a round of applause, Comrade Ali Haney. Ali Haney, I left Ali Haney off of the list of lifetime InPDUM members. Comrade Ali Haney is a list, and you see me looking, I'm waiting for those gifts. So want to salute you, Comrade Ali Haney, for your commitment to the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. On that accord, anyone else in here interested in joining me? I'm signing up for another $1,000 contribution to InPDUM. So that's my pledge amount. So if there's anybody else here that have never made an InPDUM lifetime membership pledge, anybody here able to join me or have put that down on your card already, raise your hand. So we got Comrade Bakri, Uhuru. So Comrade Bakri have made that. Uhuru. So that's taken us close to where we need to be. So that takes us to $2,000, right? Uhuru. Oh no, sorry. No, I'm saying I'm one, and then that's two, and then I was going to mention FoFeet, which is three. No. So I'm saying Bakri met me, so that's one, and then FoFeet is three. Yeah, I'm on it. Yeah, I know, but I said, who wants to match me? He matched me. Then I was going to FoFeet, which then makes it three. Right. So we got Bakri, we got myself, we got FoFeet. That's 3,000. So that's already have us on our way. Want to salute Comrade Maureen, who already came in and made a $100 donation. Thank you, Comrade Maureen. Uhuru. And also all the work. Let's just salute all the work that the comrade is involved in, especially all that diligent work taking place around the bakery, and diligently trying to get towards those presentations today. Comrade Kitty, $50 pledge, Uhuru. Comrade Angelica, $30 pledge, Uhuru. Comrade Penny, $150 pledge, Uhuru. And I know some of these might come up differently already. So these are pre-convention pledges. Comrade Indigo, who signed up for a membership, a sustaining membership, $120. Salute Comrade Indigo. Comrade Ali Haney, we just mentioned Comrade Ali, $50, Uhuru. Comrade Stephanie, $60, Uhuru. Comrade Shabaka, Uhuru, with a $250 donation. Uhuru, Comrade Shabaka, and all the work taking place right now in Philadelphia, Uhuru. Comrade Amanda, $120. Uhuru, thank you, Comrade Amanda. Then we got a Comrade Kira all the way out of New York with the $200 donation. Uhuru, thank you, Comrade Kira. We got Comrade Dylan, $60 membership was purchased today. Thank you. And it's 100 from Comrade Penny. We'll sort that out if that's different from the pledge. But we got another 100 coming from Comrade Penny. Salute. Uhuru. And the 50 from Kitty, I'm thinking 50, that's the same as part of as done earlier. And then we got Comrade Alley, I think that's the same. So we'll have to clear that up. Then we have then we also have Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chairwoman Yeshitela, $200. Thank you. Uhuru. So all in all, that takes us to, and this is very motivating in the sense that takes us to $4,685. So I know the donations are still slowly coming. Oh shoot! You know what? I moved ahead just a little too quick. Let's pull up that sheet and show everybody what they get for their donations. So a basic membership to InPDUM is $25. We talked about this earlier. If you know anyone that's incarcerated, or if you are incarcerated and you would like to join International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement at the George Jackson Desi Woods level, that's a $5 annual donation. Uhuru. If they can pull back up the slideshow. As well, the Musa Abantu level is $10. That's for students and unemployed members. And then we'll move towards the sustainers. So $5 a month or $60 annually. That's Huey Newton. Asada Shakur is $10 a month or $120 a year. Malcolm X is $250 a year or $21 a month. Harriet Tubman, $365 a year, $31 a month. Ella Baker, $50 a month, $600 a year. And our lifetime membership, of which we got our newest member, Bakari Olatunji. That's the Marcus Garvey members. It's $84 a month or a $1,000 payment. If you work with us, there's also ways to make that in a different contribution over a year. So what we're looking at in terms of gifts, we have a sort of a commemorative photo and an ink pen to be given to everyone who makes a $10 to $99 donation. And if you do that, please make sure that you mark on your donation card your mailing address. $100. Actually, it's supposed to just be the t-shirt. Sorry, $100 to $250. You get the t-shirt, a free t-shirt. $250 to $499. You get t-shirt and the photo. $499 to $999. You get a t-shirt and a copy of The Verdict Is In, Reparations Now. And for $1,000 or more, so that's just one more dollar if you was going to do $999. You get The Verdict Is In, Reparations Now, a Vanguard, and a convention t-shirt. So we are left with only 85. Oh, salute to Comrade Fred Hampton. Comrade Fred is watching. With the $20 donation. Uhuru, Comrade Fred. Uhuru. So that leaves us only $85 away. Oh, sorry, $135 away. Correct.
Worth mentioning that Fred was the first president of Chicago.
Yes. Yeah. So Comrade Fred Hampton Jr. is the first president of the InPDUM branch in Chicago. And even recently interacted with Comrade Kabul at some outreach and made a video call for people to come to the convention. Want to salute Comrade Fred and his mother, Akua and Jerry, was the first ever InPDUM president back in 1991. So salute, thank you. Thanks for that reminder, Chairman. So that leaves us $135 away. If we can call it quits. If might have got 135. If the pledges are still coming in, and I know that they're still being calculated, what we'll do is we'll come back to that. At this point, what we'll do is we will bring up the next panel. We'll come back to that because I know without a doubt we're going to close the gap on that 130. Oh, we're only $35 away, y'all. Only $35 away. I seen that go real quick. So I'm going to do 35. So I'll do $35. That takes us to our limit. So I mean, there's no limit. Sorry, that takes us to our goals. I appreciate that. So there is no limit. So we're going to keep going. From this, we're going to raise the roof up to $6,000. So we'll raise the roof up to $6,000, and we'll bring that back to you all after. We'll get an update after this next panel. So now we're going to transition forward and move towards the Hands Off Uhuru fightback panel. Uhuru. Yes. Thank you.
Uhuru. Uhuru, y'all sound sleepy. Y'all sound a little dry. Fist up. Fist up. Izrael too. In Africa. All right. Y'all awake now, huh? Okay. Next up, we will have the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa panel. And that's how we're going to talk about how we won the Hands Off Uhuru fight back and what's next. The chairman has noted that the two strengths of a movement are its ideology and the people. This was made evident in the Hands Off Uhuru campaign. We will be welcoming up SG Mwezi, Chairwoman Penny Hess, Chairwoman Penny Hess, and Chair Jesse Nevel to report on how they won the Hands Off Uhuru fight back, as well as what is to come. Uhuru.
If I go up to the podium. Yes, so let's do that. Or rather, that's okay.
Try to keep that audience still.
Because the sound.
Yeah, because the boards.
Okay, can I be heard online? I guess they'll let us know. Uhuru, comrades. We do have a PowerPoint that we'll be pulling up, but I just want to really appreciate today. I want to appreciate the InPDUM convention and why we are here on today. As we say, cheers to a dying colonialism, this time till it's won. And again, my name is Mwezi Odom. I'm a member of the African People's Socialist Party and a proud member of the African People's Socialist Party and the chairperson of the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa counteroffensive. And so on this panel, we'll be talking, we were asked to talk about how we won the Uhuru fight back. And as we say, it's not over, but we're going to talk about the importance of this campaign and how the Uhuru movement put us in a position to where it was undeniable that we had to claim it for ourselves. And so I'm having some issues on my end with the screen, but when the PowerPoint comes up, I'll just get caught up with where we are. So first, I just want to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela. who is my leadership in the African People's Socialist Party. And I also want to salute Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela, and salute the National Central Committee of the African People's Socialist Party, and my comrades up here with me, comrades Chairwoman Hess and Chair Jesse Nevel, who are of the Uhuru 3. So we're here on today's convention, which I think is an important one for us to be talking about the Uhuru 3 fightback under the understanding of InPDUM and the importance of InPDUM. So we've seen this in today's convention. We've had a lot of information, presentations, and historical references to the importance and the necessity of an organization like InPDUM. And it's very clear that much of the work of the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition was led by and put out by InPDUM members. InPDUM is in, countless cities throughout the United States, but also, as we know, in Africa as well. And we're going to be talking about, and I'll show some, references to how InPDUM was able to expand. So, okay, now we're up. So let's go to, well, I'm sure everybody here has seen the raids. I'm looking around, but perhaps those online. So maybe we can start with the video, Comrade, which is number 9, slide 9. Actually, slide 10. Thank you so much, Uhuru. So we're just gonna watch a quick video. This is a video that was captured on camera looking at the raids that happened in 2 cities, St. Louis, Missouri, and St. Petersburg, Florida. This is just about a 3-minute video, and then we'll get back to the presentation. Uhuru.
This is the FBI. You have a federal warrant for this address. Keep your hands up and follow orders. This is the FBI. We have a warrant.
They handcuffed me and my wife out here. They wanted me to sit on the curb while they were carrying this out. Something that I refused to do. They wanted my wife to sit on the curb out here, that she refused to do.
As I was coming out, this big old drone met me.
The only revolutionary organization that's done something here on the ground practically for African people is the one that's come under attack. Institution that offers a community radio station, a newspaper, a commercial kitchen, an Aquaba Hall rental space, and community office for our organizers. That was the building that has come under attack.
You need a breach? What do you need? Need one. I don't know. What's all better than money? Don't take it.
We will build a movement of white people that says hands off the Uhuru movement.
They see in the African People's Socialist Party a vanguard for the struggle for the liberation of our people. They see that because not just what we do here in the United States, but because we had the temerity to do like Garvey, to do like Malcolm X, and take the struggle of black people around the world.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Hands off Uhuru.
Hands off Africa.
Hands off Africa. Uhuru, comrades. And so, thank you. Next slide. So what we saw here, following the raids on July 29th, the counteroffensive was initiated following these violent raids. And, as we understand that this was a continuation of an attempt to crush the, struggle for Black liberation and self-determination. When the FBI attacked the Uhuru movement, we fought back and we built a movement to call into question the attack on all freedom-loving people. And one thing that the chairman, led us through, and we'll talk more about this, but that, understanding that this was a political attack and that this is what framed how we understood the nature of the attacks, but also how we knew how to fight back. So the Uhuru 3, next slide, thank you, Comrades. So the Uhuru 3, were indicted about a year later, or well, 9 months following these attacks. Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Penny Hess, and Jesse Nevel. Both of these comrades, speaking on comrades Penny Hess and Jesse Nevel are a part of the solidarity strategy of the Uhuru movement. And so we understood that this was also an attempt to silence and to, put fear into white people or anybody who would stand in solidarity with African people. And this was an important, attack because part of what a lot of the work that we have done here on the ground throughout St. Louis is not just about, solidarity and, showing up for Black people, but real concrete work happening on the ground in the forms of reparations. And again, it was because of, the, struggle against reparations, that Chairman Omali Yeshitela has, fought to make reparations a household word, that these comrades are helping to materialize through the work of the solidarity movement. That was another reason for the US government to attack, the Uhuru 3. So the charges were bogus, as we know. There was a 10-year prison sentence over the heads of, of the Uhuru 3 for this bogus charge of being foreign agents, and a conspiracy charge carrying a prison sentence of up to 5 years for conspiracy. And we'll talk about it later, but, well, yes, I'll go into that a little bit later. So this attack, as we understand, was consistent with the FBI's track record, their war against the Black freedom struggle. We know that this attack was nothing new. And in fact, when the Black Revolution, coming out of the, defeat of the Black Revolution in the 1960s, we were almost 2 generations removed. And so for many people, this was something new, or it was nothing, there was nothing to really tether it to in terms of, the weight and the importance of it. But I just really want to salute and appreciate the chairman, because not only did he tie this back to just the 1960s, but we went as far back as to Marcus Garvey, and understanding the importance, and understanding the original attack on African people, as, colonized, under the colonial mode of production. One of the first things that the chairman put out in this fight back was that the FBI wants to put me on trial for fighting for Black freedom. Chairman said, put the colonial state on trial, we will win. And there's been references about, prophetic and all of that in this. But again, this is one of those moments where, Chairman Omali Yeshitela has just led this struggle from day one, just in such a remarkable way. And so I just want to say that we did win and we will continue to win. But not only did we just put the, state on trial in their own home in terms of the courtroom, but we exposed these attacks. And not only were we not retreating, as the chairman says, but we were building. And in the process of this, and we'll, most of us are here on the ground in St. Louis, so we've seen the amount of work that has happened in the past 3 years since these attacks. And so we understand that it wasn't just our opportunity to fight back politically, but also to continue to build the work of the Uhuru movement, because that was the main reason for the attacks. So we launched this campaign to drop the charges against the Uhuru 3. And this campaign was, was able to gain so much support across the political, spectrum. We had an opportunity to bring in forces from around the globe who united with the right for self-determination, liberation, and freedom of speech for African, Indigenous, and all colonized and oppressed peoples around the world, and also joined in the demand to drop the charges against the Uhuru 3. And this was the formation of the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition. And again, this panel is about how did we win? And it wasn't just an attempt to have other people, be a mouthpiece for the Uhuru movement, or, you know, say, yes, drop the charges on the Uhuru 3, but to understand the significance of this attack, and that, as the chairman said, the attack on the Uhuru 3 was the canary in the coal mine. And this opened the door, because as we're seeing, many of even the, you know, coalition members have experienced, you know, as individuals or as members of their organizations, attacks, you know, political attacks on these bogus conspiracy laws as well. And so this was an opportunity for us to, you know, encourage the people to fight back. And this is what Chairman was able to do. And part of what we also did, and we're not going to go through all the demands and all the principles of unity that the Fight Back Coalition developed, but we were very clear about, you know, putting forth the, you know, struggles of other, you know, political prisoners, because this was also an attempt to make the, you know, make the Uhuru 3 political prisoners. So Comrade Leonard Peltier, who is now home, but this was one of the demands that we took forward. We said, free Leonard Peltier, not one more year. And it was just such a powerful campaign. And I just, you know, I'm just really, you know, just really want to salute this, because we understood that, you know, justice for the Uhuru 3 on these stolen lands is nothing, and that there was no way that we could talk about that without calling out, you know, the contradiction of, you know, being on stolen land, and, you know, the, you know, struggle of the indigenous people and the American Indian movement, which was another, you know, movement that also came under attack. Free Mumia Abu Jamal now, also Comrade Imam Jalil Al-Hamin, formerly known as H. Rat Brown. These were some of the other political prisoners that we brought forth, and of course our Comrade Asada Shakur as well. We also united with another organization under the leadership of the Uhuru Movement, the Black is Back Coalition. And we led a tremendous march. I don't know how many of you were there in Washington, D.C. 2023 on the ground, but it was just such a powerful mobilization. And we not only had mobilizations in Washington, D.C., but all throughout Africa, bi-coastal here in the United States. And this was another, you know, show of mass support for the Uhuru 3 as well. And we're going to do it again this year. So, you know, mark your calendars for the march as well. We also put out the call to pack the courthouse, because it was clear that we wanted to make sure that this did not happen behind closed doors. And I just really want to salute our brilliant attorneys, which I think there's a slide later on where I will do that. But you know, we had people come out from all around the country. One of them is sitting right here, Comrade Paul Pumphrey, who's shaking his head, who was on the ground helping to mobilize for months before, like months before the, you know, court. And I think even stayed after, I don't know. Comrade Paul, just really want to salute you. Yeah. And it was, you know, just looking at this picture here and so many of the other ones, I just really want to salute the movement and the people. So I just wanted to say that. But because we were able to go into that courtroom, tell the truth, and convince the jury that the Uhuru movement has done nothing but work for Black people, and that's who we are, we were able to you know, make that clear and convince the jury of that. And of course, because of, you know, malpractice and, you know, just, you know, more criminal work of the prosecution, we were convicted on these bogus charges of conspiracy, and, you know, which we'll talk about more about how we are appealing and fighting that. But this victory was a victory for the people. So where we are right now with the Uhuru 3 fight back, as we say, it's not over. So this bogus conviction of conspiracy, we must overturn. And this historic appeal that was filed on June 16, 2025 by our attorneys, Leonard Goodman and Angela Rainey, this aims to establish a precedent-setting case, well, as we say, case law, to constrain the government's ability to criminalize speech. So you're going to hear more about the, you know, appeal as well from Comrade Jesse Nevel, and the significance of the appeal, but it's an outstanding document, and we encourage you to go to handsoffuhuru.org. You can, you know, read all the court documents from the indictment all the way to the, you know, all the way to the appeal. So I just really want to salute our attorneys and our, you know, brilliant legal team, Comrades Addie Griffin, Mutaki Akbar, Leonard Goodman, Angela Rainey, and Tom Inskeep as well. And just want to, you know, continue to salute Comrade Leonard Goodman, who has taken this case on pro bono. And again, when we talk about how we win, yes, we have a brilliant team of you know, of attorneys, but they were under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And yes. And I appreciate Chairman saying one thing, like early on in the beginning, asking the attorneys, do you think, like, do you find us innocent? Or maybe you said it, opposite. But part of that was important because we know who we are as the Uhuru Movement. And we didn't need to prove that, but we needed it. But there had to be a basic, like a level of understanding about who they were defending. And I think that not only did the chairman help them, didn't need to help them understand that we were innocent, but in knowing who we are as the Uhuru Movement, it was very clear who the real criminals were. And I just really want to salute this legal team who was, who was courageous enough to, take a stand and to really fight. And they are, in many ways, the, forefront of what legal representation should look like in today. So the fight for anti-colonial free speech continues. In 2022, when the FBI attacked, a year later, we built this anti-colonial free speech movement. A year later, we were at the trial and the sentencing of the Uhuru Three. And here we are 3 years later, launching this appeal to repeal the Foreign Agent Registration Act campaign. And we want this to be a campaign that is not just, reflective of the work of the Uhuru Three, but one that can reach across the globe. The attacks on activists fighting for the rights for, Palestinian people, as we're seeing, Trump sending troops, all across South America and, using these, conspiracy laws as a way to continue to attack the struggles for self-determination. I just want to go through a couple more slides, and I really want to salute and appreciate InPDUM, because this was the organization that allowed us to unleash our forces throughout the world. Some of the work that we did with Hands Off Uhuru was we held a day of action on African Liberation Day in 2023. We saw mobilizations in the US South, Northeast, US West, all throughout the Midwest as well. And our comrades in Africa, here's listing some of the locations in Europe and also in the Caribbean. And, just want to say that part of this, I'm a proud member of InPDUM. InPDUM was the first organization that I met when I came into the Uhuru Movement. And as we say, InPDUM meets you at your political door. And I just think that just hearing Comrade Thato speak earlier about this organization and just seeing the pride and the power that African people know that we have because of this fight back. When we say hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa, this is, we have to remember that the hands off Africa piece, that is at the core of this fight back. And so I just really want to salute the comrades in occupied Azania and all throughout the continent who are, who stood up and made the call for the Uhuru Three around the world. So we are, like we said, fighting for free speech. We're going to talk about the campaign to repeal the Foreign Agent Registration Act. But we, as the chairman said earlier, we are winning. And here's just a glimpse of many of the institutions and, activities of the Uhuru Movement that since day one, if you look in the very bottom on the next slide, in the middle, is the African Doula Project. This was a project that was launched on July 29, 2022, the day of the raids. And we were able to graduate 14 African women who became doulas in the community after coming through these raids. And so this is just to say that we don't stop. There is no limit to the Uhuru Movement. And we will continue to fight back because it's not over. So I just want to salute this dynamic convention of InPDUM and say cheers to a dying colonialism, this time till it's won. And from South Africa to Southern California, where I say Uhuru.
Sure, thank you. SG Mwezi, Chairman Mwezi of the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition. Sorry, this one the same. And it is an honor to be here today. I want to, as always, salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party, and to just say how important it is that we are under the leadership. We are the African People's Solidarity Committee, the organization of white people formed by the African People's Socialist Party. with the mandate to go into the white community to organize other white people to join this side of history, the forward side of history, under the leadership of the anti-colonial struggle, which is the main struggle in the world, and to pay reparations, to organize that. And when the state attacked the party on July 29, 2022, they did not know who they were dealing with. And that, first of all, like the chairman said, that it was an attack on the ideology. The ideology of the party is African internationalism. African internationalism is a theory of practice. It is not just something that goes on in cafes or academic. It means if you are an African internationalist, you must be in organization under the leadership of the party. That's what it means. You can't like take some of the ideas, and we do see people doing this, trying to do this. They suddenly, adopt a part of it, like the fact that that this country is built on the enslavement of African people and the genocide of the indigenous people, and white people were complicit with the colonial state in carrying that out. But we see some white people trying to adopt that part into their own organization. You cannot do that because this, as I said, is a theory of practice, and the state did not realize that or what that meant, because it meant, for one thing, that the front that Deputy Chair Omali Yeshitela leads, has built these institutions of dual and contending power that went on, as it was said, there was the doula program on the very day of that was out there. And in the period since then, we see the opening of the basketball court, the community gardens, the opening of the farm, just the incredible growth of the actual programs of Black Power, the Black Power blueprint right here in St. Louis, but also the building of this movement all over the world. And the chairman built this organization, the Hands Off Uhuru, which has, first of all, destroyed the white left's definition of what is left and what is, quote, right, and won forces and individuals from across the political spectrum. So it is the party that is redefining what it means to be progressive, because and it brings it to the question, not what you stand on this issue or that issue. Where do you stand in relationship to the right of African people to fight for their liberation and to have their anti-colonial free speech, their right to fight for national liberation in theory and practice? And I also wanted to say that they thought that they would be able to scare white people, to break off the solidarity movement. But they didn't know that Jesse and I are cadre. We are cadre, and we are here to be here no matter what. And we understand from the leadership of the party, and I understood it from the very first beginning of the APSC, that this is going up against the state, the colonial state, and that nothing is as violent and vicious as what colonialism and the colonial mode of production is and has been historically. When we talk about violence, political violence, we live on land drenched in the blood of hundreds of millions of indigenous people, hundreds of millions of African people. And I always say this, but you feel this really strongly when you're here in St. Louis, because there's an incredible history of African resistance here. The party continues in that. They are the continuation we have the chairman and deputy chair. There would be a statue of right next to downtown, where is the statue of Dred Scott and Harriet Scott together. There would be the statue of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and deputy chair. And that, you know, I just wanted to say that, and that this is part of the struggle against opportunism. And it is the ability for white people to join humanity, to jump off this pedestal upon which we sit. The chairman won this. The victory of the Uhuru Three was won by the chairman's political leadership and political education to the entire process, beginning with to the attorneys, as has been said. I mean, the chairman gave them political education every time. And when you look at the court day, the trial, and you saw, Addie up there fighting and Leonard, and like really questioning them and bringing the jury and the people to the reality of what this is. That's because for almost a year prior to that, we were meeting with the attorneys, and the chairman was giving them the political education that they needed, because we don't live in a time when, as in the 60s, a political lawyer was one that fought to be part of the political struggle that was being led by the African liberation movement. But the chairman talked about the counterinsurgency and the COINTELPRO. And I can't say enough about it, what the chairman did, and the importance of the whole party, the importance of what the Office of Deputy Chair was doing, the importance what the front of Hands Off Uhuru was doing, what InPDUM was doing, what USM was doing, all of that. None of it stopped. All of it was stronger and stronger and stronger. And Hands Off Uhuru is incredible. I really, salute the chairman's leadership and yours, Chairman Mwezi, in just all of the, it's like really, really beautiful to see the level of just the outpouring of support of people who understood this, and if nothing else, understood that when African people and the African Revolution is attacked, everybody is attacked. But when the African Revolution fights back, everybody wins. Yes. Everybody wins. So, just one other thing. I know my time's up. That I was looking at, I have at the Solidarity Center, I have like a pamphlet, and it is written by the Vietnamese General Vo Nguyen Giap. And the pamphlet is How We Won the War, the Vietnamese people, how we won the war. And basically what he's saying, they won it politically. They won it politically, and that informed everything they did. And when there were contradictions and when they weren't winning the way they needed to, Giap stopped the war literally and went into the troops, to the guerrilla fighters, and gave them political education. And this is the movement we're in. This is the struggle, the struggle of African internationalism that embraces everyone, that is against any kind of oppression, any form of oppression, that is saying that fighting for a society in which there will not be ever again an oppressor and oppressed. And so we as white people have an opportunity to join that, and we pay reparations. That is not a bad thing. That is a good thing for us, because that is how we make our self-criticism. We return the stolen resources, and we are part of turning the world right side up, in which those who have been oppressed by this colonial mode of production are leading the way to overturn that and create a new world. So I just want to say, Uhuru, it's an honor to be here. We are winning. unity through
Reparation.
Uhuru. Uhuru. It's a great honor to be on this panel. Uhuru to Chairman Mwezi and Chairwoman Penny. And of course, to our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Onezene Yeshitela, and the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, President Matsamela, and everybody who's here, everybody who's participated, all of the incredible presentations from Africa, Occupied Azania. It's been an amazing conference so far, and I'm really honored to be here and to be a part of it, as well as honored to be one of the Uhuru Three. Under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Chairwoman Penny Hess. And just trying to get my notes up here. Okay. And I really appreciate the presentations that have been made so far. One thing that just kind of struck me as I was reflecting on how things unfolded over the past 3 years, especially with the chairman's leadership that he gave to the attorneys and to both the struggle in the streets, which was fierce and relentless, and also the struggle in the courts, which the two were one and the same and were reflections of each other. And what Chairwoman Penny was saying about the political education that the chairman provided, and it made me think that there were at least 3 primary ways that I was thinking about that the chairman educated and won the attorneys to understand how to wage this fight the way that they ultimately did. One was through literally providing hours and hours and hours of political education in these weekend-long meetings that we would have, where sometimes the agenda would say that we were going to be going through discovery or something like that, but we were going through a different kind of discovery to hear the chairman's analysis and summation and political education. The second way was by the chairman being the chairman, being who he is. It did not take very long for the attorneys to realize no one is telling Chairman Omali Yeshitela what to do. Certainly not a Russian, not even his attorneys. And the third way was by bringing them here, bringing them to St. Louis. That was very, very important. The chairman and deputy chair really pushed for them to come here, to experience the Black Power blueprint, to experience InPDUM. They were here for a Sunday rally. And InPDUM was one of the targets of the attack. The Africans Charged Genocide petition was an InPDUM campaign. That was one of the main so-called overt acts that they used in this bogus indictment. And the attorneys, including Mataki Akbar, have said that was when it really sunk in what this was about, when they came here and saw what the chairman and the party have built and what this movement represents. He said it made sense to him. That's why the party is under attack, because it's building self-determination. It's building power in the hands of African people. So I just wanted to mention that to start. And the theme of how we won, how the Uhuru movement won the case and defeated the attacks on the chairman and the Uhuru Three is, it's been answered brilliantly up to this point. And it's really an answer that contains the entire history of the African People's Socialist Party in it. And the other thing it was reminding me of is that during the trial, as people who were there, many of you were there, will remember, the prosecution had 12 so-called witnesses, which were all FBI agents, and then 2 so-called expert witnesses. The Uhuru Three legal defense team didn't call any witnesses. And instead, Addie Griffin convinced the prosecutors to allow us to introduce evidence before the jury without calling a witness. So the way that was done is that Addie went through chronologically, for the most part, with one exception, which is really important, chronologically went through from the 60s up until 2022, articles from the Burning Spear newspaper, video presentations by the party, by the chairman, even when the chairman was in Russia, being interviewed about why he was there. Went through all of this year by year, every single mention of the word reparations, every single mention of the word genocide, Every single time that the African People's Socialist Party has taken a position against a US-backed war, which was every US-backed war for 50 years. And she went through it in chronological order, except that at the very end, she went back to 1977 and read from the Tactics and Strategy for Black Liberation.
Right.
And that's because it was meant to show that that whole history of consistent work by the chairman and the party was not just random, it was rooted in a clear strategy, a revolutionary anti-colonial strategy, which is what guides the chairman, which is what guides the party, which is what guides the solidarity movement and the creation of InPDUM and everything that the party has done. And that was absolutely critical to the victory. The history of the party is how the party won, showing who the party is, showing who the chairman is. And the other thing that happened during the trial, and this has to do with the appeal. If anyone has not read the appeal yet, it's, in addition to being an amazing legal and political document, it's a great read. You should definitely read it, and salute to the attorneys who did an amazing job with it. But my personal favorite part of the appeal is that they quote these comments that sound like these, bedazzling appraisals of the chairman and the Uhuru movement. And the quotes are from the FBI agents who testified at the trial. He is sincere and heartfelt. One of them said he's extremely intelligent. They didn't quote that one. They said, he does not seem to me like somebody who's for sale, which then Addie recalled in her closing statement. And she said, Chairman Omali Yeshitela is not for sale. He's a revolutionary. Right. One of the FBI agents said that. Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's for sale. Even the whole genocide petition, the Uhuru Three were indicted in part because they said Chairwoman Penny took direction and control from the Russians to write a genocide petition. The FBI agents, they were asked, was Penny Hess directed to write the petition? No, she wasn't directed to write the petition. So they destroyed their own case. And of course, that was because they were cross-examined to death on the witness stand. Yeah. It was so fun to watch. And most of the quotes, these are not from some little random rank and file FBI agent. Most of the best quotes that helped to exonerate the Uhuru Three came from the lead investigator.
Right.
The so-called star witness, the case agent, Kelly Bowen, who got up on the witness stand confident as hell. She'd probably had Marcette practicing with her for days. She got up there ready to just kill it and get that guilty verdict. And by the end of it, she was practically crying and had basically just given us the acquittal on the foreign agent charge. So please do read the appeal. It's an incredible document. And the appeal is an extension of the strategy that the chairman talked about today. And I wanted to close by quoting this and then mentioning the FARA campaign. The chairman mentioned today, and he mentioned it at the founding convention of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, the struggle for democracy, the struggle for democratic rights. And the chairman in that founding convention, in that presentation, talked about how in the 1950s and 60s, the struggle for democratic rights was really important, but it was led by the African petty bourgeoisie. Right. So it was basically the be-all, end-all was democratic rights. But the chairman said the struggle for democracy, it has to be a struggle for anti-colonial democracy, the highest expression of which is self-determination. Democracy as measured by the extent to which the influence and authority of the colonizer over the lives of the colonized is negated. And only the African working class can lead that struggle. And the chairman coined the term democracy above, revolution below. And that's what Hands Off Uhuru has been about. That's what the appeal is about. That's what the committee and the campaign to take these laws, which are weapons in the hands of the colonial ruling class. That's all they are. These laws were not abused. They were used for their initial purpose, which was to suppress speech and to attack African and colonized Palestinians, Cuban, Mexican. If you look at the history of who these foreign agent laws have been used against, you don't find people accused of being Canadian agents or French agents. You find, El Salvador or Zimbabwe or China or Russia or, Iran. it's an explicitly political law, and it was when it was created as a component of the Espionage Act in 1917. And the same goes for the conspiracy law, which is a thought crime, as the chairman says. You don't even have to do the thing that you were accused of doing, of conspiring to do, to be found guilty of having conspired to do it, as evidenced by the completely bizarre, illogical verdict in our case, which is, I think, perfect, because I think all conspiracy charges are absurd, but this one really helps to expose how absurd, because just to be clear, the specific crime that the chairman and the Uhuru Three were charged with was not being Russian agents. It was hiding from the government that we were acting as Russian agents. It was not registering with the attorney general that we were so-called Russian agents. So the jury saw the chairman's not a Russian agent, therefore he had no obligation to register as a Russian agent. So we were acquitted of that charge. So how could we conspire to hide from the government that we were acting as Russian agents if the jury said they didn't have to notify the government because they weren't doing that in the first place? It's perhaps the most obviously illogical conspiracy verdict ever. And it helps to expose the problem with conspiracy law itself. And that's why the appeal is so important. And that's why the repeal campaign, we have the appeal and the repeal campaign going on simultaneously. And it's going to be something that the whole movement is going to be a part of, to fight these laws, to demand that these laws are abolished, and to expose that these laws are just nothing but instruments of colonial state repression in the hands of the US government. So I just wanted to close with this quote from the presentation to the founding convention. I wanted to mention this because, first of all, I just wanted to salute People's Alderman Jesse Todd for the presentation earlier. And thank you for the kind words also. And while I have no intentions of becoming a rabbi, I have been called upon to pursue and obtain a law license, a law degree and a law license, which will belong to the movement, which will belong to the anti-colonial struggle and be a component of the fight for anti-colonial democracy. And I was very inspired to read this quote. This is in the founding convention of the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. If I could find it. Okay, so the chairman said that, here we go. We must learn certain skills necessary for struggle in this arena, skills that people in most mass movements may not have, but many of which the Uhuru movement has acquired over the years, although not in sufficient enough quantity or quality. Serious, principled struggle in this arena, in defense of the national democratic rights of our people and as part of the process to expose the US counterinsurgency, leading to the abrogation of many of those democratic rights, will shatter the democratic facade of the colonialist white ruling class state. And finally, one task the National People's Democratic Uhuru Movement must take on in order to struggle most effectively is the task of organizing a legal defense capacity. So this is decades before Hands Off Uhuru, both for our movement and for the general defense of the national democratic rights of our people. This is an important task that cannot be overstated. Historically, petty bourgeois liberals, often those who call themselves progressives or communists, and there's probably a few we could name there, have contributed to the inability of anti-colonialists to wage effective struggle for democracy by denying us access to lawyers who would defend our members and our causes in the colonial courts. In fact, this has contributed to many organizations being driven underground before exhausting the democratic space for struggle. The inability to utilize the democratic space has prevented many people who might otherwise join or support our democratic struggle for self-determination from doing so for fear of imprisonment and other forms of state attack. The successful effort by InPDUM to organize a body of democratic lawyers under the leadership of our movement will open up the movement to thousands of Africans and others who recognize our need for access to the judicial process as part of our struggle. So if there are any lawyers out there listening to this, join the Uhuru movement, join Hands Off Uhuru.
So I understand that we'll be handling Q&A on our own, so we'll just open it up. And I know we are also short on time, I believe. Correct. So if there are any questions, or Chairman, if you have anything you'd like to add, but yes, of course.
You're not afraid?
Yeah.
You coming to the podium, Tom? Okay.
Or
He gonna grab that. We grab
The one right
oh,
there?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can just.
That's not here.
Okay.
I'll move over.
Right.
For the Chairman.
Thank you, Comrade. I just want to remind everyone that this coalition, this InPDUM, was founded as a part of the process to overturn the consequences of a counterinsurgency that killed Malcolm X, killed Martin Luther King, arrested in 1968 alone, I think something like 300 members of the Black Panther Party. By that time, killed something like 39 members of the Black Panther Party. Had killed Lumumba, killed Nkrumah, etc. So it was a real war that was being waged against our movement. This African people struggle for happiness, and in return of resources that have been stolen from us. What has been subsequently stolen from the people is the memory of what that struggle was all about. It's destroyed it. And so they kill people, and to crush ideological leadership in our communities, they arrested people, they terrorized people, they destroyed organizations, they and then they dispersed the members who had once been a part of those organizations. That's what happened to us. And this coalition, I mean, the InPDUM was pulled together and to fix that, to bring African people back into political life, to fight and expose this counterinsurgency. That's what you call it. And when you have the government functioning to destroy what they call, or prevent what they call insurgency. Insurgency is when the oppressed people rise up. They call that insurgency. So they've created a science, an art of counterinsurgency. And counterinsurgency uses every form of warfare, ideological warfare, psychological warfare. They use military. It's all based in military and what have you. This is what happens to keep a people from winning their freedom, winning their liberation. So this is what brought InPDUM into existence, to deal with that, to expose it, and to overturn this kind of relationship that we had to our oppression. And I want to mention, I think it's important to say that because a lot of forces who love Black people didn't love us when it comes to us being able to handle our own affairs, to become a totally free people. I'm talking about in this country, because what does freedom for African people mean? Literally, what does it mean? And it means undermining what all of the colonizer has created for himself at our expense. It means that the Delmar divide, we don't ask people to remove the Delmar divide. The part of the process of becoming free liquidates the Delmar divide. And we're at this period that we're living in today, where there's this fear of the Black planet, right? But more and more Africans and by comparison, fewer and fewer white people in this process. It's a frightening kind of thing. And people have a problem imagining this. Like, we've heard people say things like, and people have accused enslaved African people of not being able to make it. If you're in slavery, what you gonna do? Not what we gonna do. Hell, you live off us. If it weren't for us, you wouldn't have a damn thing. And that's just an objective reality. So we are a party comprised of we're training cadre. This cadre is moving to achieve the capacity to build mass organizations. The fact is that ours will always be a small party, but we will have a huge influence because we can build mass organizations. We can build an InPDUM. We can build an ANWO. We can build all these other things because we have people who are training to do that. They become cadre. They become disciplined. They become ideologically informed and hold on to that ideological basis. And I think it's really important to make that statement and for people to understand that because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do because there are all kinds of things working all the time to lure and seduce the colonized into some relationship with the colonizers. Seduction. You can find it all the time. And then there's always a payoff. You can get some resources for yourself. You can get paid for helping, and you can get punished for not helping. So the objective, though, is to re-achieve agency by Black people. Us. And not to hesitate to say that. The other thing that we have come to understand is that the existence of the African People's Socialist Party, African internationalism, has changed that situation where you can think in terms of a Black movement and then the white movement. When you're talking about the struggle for socialism, that's being led by the African People's Socialist Party, not just some Black thing. It's the struggle for the whole piece, for socialism itself. And you have to understand that. That's why we say the road to socialism is, and why do we say the road to socialism is painted Black? Is because it's the colonial mode of production, because all activity, economic activity on the planet revolves around a colonial mode of production and rests upon the foundation of the colonization of African people. I want to say that people sometimes call themselves our friend. We've met a lot of white people and organizations who love us on the one hand, but who will not work. We created the African People's Solidarity Committee for a reason, because we were tired of the intervention by white people who love us. White people who love us and go and then take Africans and other people off into other directions, take people into places that even though they love us, they find themselves finding other arenas to lead people in, to contribute to, etc. So they love us. Yeah, I wanted to say that. And here are people who love us. We created the African People's Solidarity Committee because you can't do this in our name anymore. You cannot go out working for Black people who are colonized, and especially you acknowledge African people are colonized, which means that our self-determination, our agency, has been expropriated from us forcibly at gunpoint. At gunpoint, right? So that's happened to us on the one hand, and yet you love us, right? And we say that white people love us, then we'll work under the leadership of the colonized. You don't just enter into this fray on your own. You work under the leadership of the colonized. If you're, who in the hell, you're gonna support the Vietnamese, but then you're gonna set up your own organization, independent of them. I was in Nicaragua. The most extraordinary thing I saw, this is right after the revolution. And see Nicaragua, Venezuela, El Salvador, Venezuela. Anyway, if Nicaragua could win, El Salvador can win. I was there. And there was this movement that the Nicaraguans were pulling together for universal or international support for the Vietnamese, for the Nicaraguan revolution. It was mind-blowing. The Nicaraguans would say, this is what we need. We're trying to get resources for this and for that, etc. And then some white person from America literally would say, no, here's what you really need. And would engage in telling the people what the hell they need, and as opposed to being willing to follow the leadership of the Nicaraguans. We don't do that. You cannot, on the one hand, claim to support the African movement against colonialism, refuse to work under the leadership of the revolution, refuse to join the African People's Solidarity Committee or the Solidarity Movement overall, and then build your own movement to recruit Black people who are colonized into it. The hell is that? And I mean this is a literal, serious kind of criticism, that we have to understand what it is that we are about. And that's not to say, if you want to support us, fine, support us. But this recognize what this means in terms of a serious form of opportunism. Refuse to work under the leadership of the African Revolution, but recruit Africans to work under the leadership of white people. So no, that doesn't work. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that cadre, to make a revolution is not an easy thing. It takes a form of discipline. It takes ideological consistency. It takes the ability to fight for that, to fight against liberalism, fight against all those things that would minimize or undermine your ability to stand up for the revolutionary project. That's what it means. That's what we have to do. That's how we have to build. Because revolutionary movements are quite serious, and you're up against, as it's been said, the most grotesquely brutal machinery that's ever existed on the planet Earth. And every assault now is being made and is targeting Black people in this country. And disregard for any kind of thing that looks like law. You see it happening every day. This total disregard for what was supposed to be law. A week ago, you thought that was the law. Now you see that you have a movement where they say, no, it ain't the law anymore. So, well, we're going to ask the Supreme Court. What Supreme Court? You understand? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we are confronted with. And the question is whether or not we're going to take control of our own lives and whether people will support that, or whether or not we're going to continue to leave our lives in the hands of liberals and Negroes who see their own future as being connected to improving a colonial kind of situation, and that leaves our people defenseless. It leaves our people defenseless. They say, well, follow Kamala, and Kamala has a book out now, right? This is what you're supposed to do. And I'm saying this is a troubling period, and that Africans have to really get organized, and not just be organized, but be organized to become a self-governing people here and globally. I want to express profound appreciation to those comrades who stayed up with us in South Africa up to now, and recognize how difficult that is in terms of even having electricity and having internet access and stuff like that. And you see the work that they're doing there on the ground, building. That's the kind of stuff that has to be done everywhere. Thank you, Comrade Uhuru.
I think we're at time, unless there's other questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Well, I didn't answer a question, so there may be
other
stuff that people may.
All right, well, I'll turn it back to the President. Uhuru.
One. Yeah, let me just say this. One thing that did not get mentioned is that the government has not finished with this case. We talk about the appeals that we're involved in, et cetera. What didn't get mentioned during this process is that the Justice Department has taken this out of the hands of the Tampa prosecutor and put it in the hands of Washington, D.C. Yeah. So they're doing this from Washington, D.C. And the guy who they put in charge of it in Washington, D.C. has asked for a 40-day extension to be able to reply to our appeal. So the Tampa local person is a prosecuting office is not the one that's now responding to the appeal, but the Justice Department itself. And this is consistent with how this case has been handled all down the line. It's never been something that's been local. And every time, once we got a lawyer, we ask, why is it taking so long? Why is this happening? And the Justice Department and the Tampa prosecutor would say, we don't know, we're waiting to hear from Washington. Yeah. Right. So that's the history of this thing that we're dealing with. So it's not over. And there's no telling where they're going to try to go with it. But it's serious. And this is a war that's becoming increasingly naked to anybody who wants to see it, that's being made against African people, and why our stance and our discipline and organization is so significant, and why building the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, joining it, coming into InPDUM is such a critical thing. As has been said, InPDUM is a revolutionary organization, though there are a whole bunch of people in there who are not revolutionaries, but part of a revolutionary strategy. And that's the thing that gives it its revolutionary character. Uhuru. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman.
Not one day, not one shot. Yeah, Uhuru.
All right. Not one day, not one time.
Not one day, not one time. So.
I think it's called 8 years. Yeah.
So. Uhuru. Stop. Right. Let's give it a round of applause for that now. And then about 3. Uhuru 3.
Dynamic Conrad who led that fight. Let's give it a call. Right. Get this over here. How's everybody doing? Right on. All right. All right, let's get this out the way. Get that out the way. All right, Uhuru. All right. Yeah. All right. So I just want to say I really unite with the theme of this convention. Cheers to a dying colonialism, this time till it's won. I really unite with that. And we got to continue to keep on with the fight. And as soon as this comes up, all right, so let's go to the first one. Yeah, the first. Actually, we can, yeah, leave it right there. So first and foremost, as soon as I get my notes here, I just want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Onizene Yeshitela, for their tireless work to liberate and empower the African working class worldwide and here in St. Louis. The chairman's been calling on the movement to take up all political space possible and raising for a long time the need for an independent neighborhood organization that truly represents the interests of the African working class. It was Deputy Chair Onizene Yeshitela who put on the ground and made it happen in December 2024. Deputy Chair recognized the urgency of forming NENA to counter the vicious attacks on the African People's Education and Defense Fund from the College Hill Neighborhood Association, who opposed the permit for the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe.
The Office of the Deputy Chair formed NINA, and we immediately wrote a letter of support for the bakery for the appeal process that helped us to secure a permit and to renovate the building in February 2025. Next. So my name is Sealli Moyenda. I'm gonna stick with that. And I am a proud member of the Uhuru Movement since 1993. That's a long time. Next. I moved from Oakland, California, to St. Louis, Missouri in 2024, and I have spent all of this time on the ground in the economic work. I mean, I literally got here and hit the ground running. Right on, yes. When asked by DC owner to move here, I asked myself, how can I practically help change the conditions African people are facing on the north side of St. Louis? I saw all the work that had been accomplished in 8 short years that has been on the ground. And I decided that I want to become a part of this important history. And every day I see, horrible conditions here on the north side. And I want to be able to see a major revitalization of community commerce, as well as see positive changes in the life of this community. Because no one should have to wake up every day and see rotting buildings. No one should have to leave the community just to get healthy food and any other services. And just to say real quick, remember when you see children outside on the street playing, jumping rope and riding their bikes and stuff like that? I want to see the children to be able to play and be happy. And I want to make a contribution to this community, not just through my crochet work, but to also serve a community that's been neglected for way, way too many years by helping other businesses in the north side to survive and thrive. Next. So I've been a business owner for 25 plus years, and my business is All Power Promotions and Creations. First, it was started as a service, creating flyers and business cards, and then it morphed into crocheting. And fortunately, I've had a lot of success, and I'll soon be taking that up another notch. Next. So now, NINA, the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association, like I said before, the Office of Deputy Chair founded this neighborhood association because we want more than a neighborhood. We want to build a community. And we were very intentional on developing our name. So the next couple of slides are going to show you the importance of the name. Next. So the floating tile on the letter I, written in lowercase, indicates the north side. Next. The letter I reaching out of the sphere shape indicated the independence of the community. And we believe in self-determination and self-reliance. Next. The sphere shape conveys a group of people, the community of people we represent. Next. So when you put it all together, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, you get, this is how we came up with the logo. Next. And da-da-da, NINA. Next. Now, I want to salute our amazing volunteer, Francis, who all the way from Nigeria, Africa, who designed this powerful logo for us. Next. So the purpose of NINA is to improve the current quality of life in North St. Louis, fostering a sense of community and advocating for the neighborhood's interest to become self-determining, self-reliant, and self-sustaining. Next. And to promote and protect the welfare, health, and safety of the members of the neighborhood through collective action, communication, and collaboration. Next. And to represent North St. Louis neighborhoods and to collaborate with other neighborhood associations, businesses, and residents, including O'Fallon, Fairground, College Hill, Hyde Park, the Ville, Greaterville, Baden, Penrose, and others who believe in self-determination and self-reliance for the Black community as we grow and develop. Next. So we felt the urgency to initiate the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association to come together to revitalize our communities and help businesses get established and flourish as they once did. We can see all the empty businesses, the properties in our neighborhoods boarded up and gone. And we want to be able to shop, eat, work, and connect with each other in our own communities once again. Next. So this is College Hill. So these are the conditions we face on the North Side due to the conscious Team 4 Let It Rock policy put in place 51 years ago in 1974 in St. Louis. And this policy designated certain areas of the city for development and designated the North Side to deteriorate so the city and developers can take over our communities to gentrify it and make billions of dollars, especially with the NGA, or the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which is considered the Pentagon of the West, taking up 2,000 acres right here in North St. Louis. Next. And here's Hyde Park neighborhood, and the conditions are the same right here in Hyde Park, as you can see. Next. This is Fairground neighborhood. And as you can see, the same deterioration as the others. Next. O'Fallon, right here, this neighborhood. And you can see the same deterioration. Next. And this is the Penrose neighborhood. You know, all of this is completely unacceptable. Next. So, as I mentioned early on, we won a huge victory to open Uhuru Foods and Pies, or should I say Uhuru Bakery and Cafe, which led us to building Nina, and this is how we did it. Next. So the African People's Education and Defense Fund purchased this building at 3719 West Florissant Avenue for the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe, and that was done on January 26th of 2024. So AP, EDF, and Black Star Industries decided to purchase a smaller building to jumpstart Uhuru Foods and Pies quickly and enhance the Black Power blueprint on the West Florissant corridor. Once we submitted architectural plans, the city had required Uhuru Bakery to have a conditional use permit to open. Next. And as an example of the struggle for African businesses on the North Side to open and operate, Uhuru Bakery and Cafe has been in struggle with the city since May of 2024 to obtain a permit to renovate the building and bring fresh, healthy food, jobs, and a community hub to College Hill. Next. So before we went to the conditional use hearing in August of 2024, we went to the people. We went to businesses on the North Side and the South Side. We did drops, knocked on doors throughout College Hill. We couldn't go forward with the construction without the support of the Alderman and Neighborhood Association until the conditional use hearing on August 22nd, where the zoning board disregarded all 223 signatures from individuals, the 114 business letters, and the 14 people who made public statements during the hearing stating the desire to have a cafe on the North Side of St. Louis. Next. We went to the people. We went to businesses to sign, to get letters signed for letters of support on the North Side and also on the South Side, where people express unity with the African community having the resources and access to food, just as the white community does on the South Side. Next. Dun, 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 dun. During the first hearing, the city denied the permit based on the attack by a white nationalist, Terry Rose, who represented the so-called College Hill Neighborhood Association. We have the audio and video proof of her vicious attack on us and the African community. The current president of the so-called association, Devontae Saunders, backed this position, so we had no choice but to appeal. Next. The leadership of the Board of Public Service and the zoning section that united with Terry Rose sent us a letter of denial saying the bakery will be detrimental to public health, safety, and morals and general welfare of the city. How could that be? Next. The Board of Public Service said that APEDF could appeal, pay a fee of $200, and wait another 5 months for a hearing date, during which time we would expend more than $25,000 to pay loans, insurance, security, and utility costs for an empty building, not including lost revenue. This is totally unacceptable and a denial of due process. Next. The neighborhood opposition to the bakery was pre-planned and orchestrated by Terry Rose with elected officials whose salaries are paid by us, the residents of St. Louis. They used the attacks by the U.S. government and the Department of Justice, who attempted to put Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the Uhuru Three in prison for 15 years and extort hundreds of thousands of dollars from them based on the lie that the Uhuru Movement worked for the Russian government. Essentially, we were tired of all the roadblocks the city puts in front of us, including unnecessary fees, code enforcement, outdated zoning laws, and neighborhood associations that don't want any independent African-owned business on the north side. We had seen the corruption and ineptitude of SLDC in managing the north side small business grants. And quite frankly, the community deserves better. Next. So if you've been in the Uhuru Movement, you know about plan of actions and laying the foundation to carry it. So here are our goals here that I'm going to read. So the plan is 1, get the permit to build out the bakery. 2, expose the city and all departments blocking the bakery and economic development for the African community. 3, protect the institutions. 4, organize the community to be part of the ongoing strategy for economic development and to participate in the Black Power Blueprint programs, build the neighborhood organization, NINA, and ANIBA, which is the African National Independent Business Association, and join InPDUM and join the party. Next. We sent a letter to every official at City Hall. We went to City Hall several times to deliver the letters in person and demanded to speak to the mayor, the alderman, the president of the board of aldermen, the head of the zoning department and building commission, and a few more. Next. We met with the committee on red tape at City Hall. And of course, there's still a lot of red tape at City Hall. Next. Okay. We said APEDF demands the immediate reversal of the denial of the conditional use permit, an end to the discriminatory practices of the zoning section, an end to the denial of due process by the president of the Board of Public Service, and for denying the permit in the first place. We demand justice, for the zoning department's violations of its own standards for approval of permits as enumerated in the zoning code of ordinances. Next. And this is a press conference that we had at the Bakery Cafe. Go to the next slide, please. So we had a campaign to push back the reactionary media because it's not just the city, the media is blocking Uhuru too. APEDF held a powerful press conference on November 12th with the community and other business owners. The next day, Jacob Barker published a sensationalist article that did not even address the just cause of APEDF and African businesses. He united with the attacks on the Uhuru Movement and only wanted to talk about the bogus charges against the Uhuru Three. I'd like to be able to play that video real quick. Can we play it? Oh, it's 36. Yeah, let me put it in here. Okay. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Okay. That'll be 37. Okay, so we met with officials at the Uhuru House, and that was State Representative Kimberly Collins and Alderman Rasheen Aldrich at the Uhuru House and with the Uhuru 3. Next. So basically, it's radical times calls for radical solutions. Next. So concerned residents and businesses confronted Mayor Jones at the cabinet and the community meeting in O'Fallon YMCA on December 7th, demanding to know why she's not investing in economic development on the North Side, asking where are the ARPA funds and why she won't address the issue of Uhuru Bakery's permit denial. Mayor Jones and her office tried to say they're working for the whole city. The mayor says she grew up on the North Side, a few blocks from where the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe will be. She stated, "That's why I've been intentional about the money we've received to make sure it goes to the North Side first," which is clearly a lie. Next. We even met, wrote letters, and called several legal organizations to win support. In the end, we hired Dan Emerson to represent Uhuru Bakery at the appeal. Next. Right after the cabinet and the community meeting, where she dismissed the concerns and needs of Northside residents and businesses, she publicly bragged on Facebook about helping a Southside business grow by getting a temporary liquor license in only a few weeks. Next. As you can see, we mobilized a meeting a month before the appeal with InPDUM to a full house. Next. So after 3.5 hours of the historical Board of Adjustment hearing, where 25 people spoke in favor of the bakery, the media came out to monitor the hearing. The white nationalist Terry Rose and College Hill Neighborhood Association lied and slandered, and the board waffled on the decision. We finally won the right to get the building permit. Next. Next. Okay, let's play that video, because I think it's important for people to see that. And you able to play it? Okay, yeah. Well, let's keep going on that. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So we're going to sum up the victory. We had 110 plus supporters at the hearing, 25 people who spoke at the hearing, 330 plus supporters who signed letters, petitions, and wrote in. The Northside Independent Neighborhood Association was present. The St. Louis Business Coalition was present. You have the politicians who wrote letters of support, and you had the attorney, and then we had the ODC, HOU, we had APSP, Agitprop, InPDUM, USM, SLBC. We had it going on. And the Uhuru Bakery Cafe also gave a thank you pie and card to show our profound appreciation for those who spoke in support of Uhuru Bakery Cafe and helped us to win. Next. And again, Nina stood with the APDF and the Uhuru Bakery Cafe on this appeal hearing held February 12th. Next. So now we got to go beyond protests. So we understand we had to go beyond protests and begin to build plans for revitalizing our community. This is also one of the reasons the chairman called on us to build a neighborhood association. Next. So January 21st, 2025, NINA held its first meeting where we introduced the purpose of NINA. We voted on the leadership, and we still have a few vacant positions that still need to be filled. Next. We planned the meetings for the entire year of 2025 to help be consistent in building NINA. The only meeting we weren't able to hold was on May 27th, as we were in the midst of tornado recovery. Next. And then we built our leadership team, and which, we can't move forward without a team or a committee. Next. So again, I am president for NINA, and I'm responsible for working with the secretary in preparing agendas, convening meetings, and representing the organization as needed, including sign with the secretary or any other officer authorized by the board, any contracts or other legal documents expressly authorized by the board, sign with the treasurer or withdrawals of funds from association bank accounts, lead the board committee and general membership meetings. Next, we have the vice president, who assists the president and represents the president when requested, in particular in recruiting members, signs documents requiring the president's signature in the absence of the president. Next.
Who's that person right there? Who's that person? Feels like some.
And then the secretary treasurer sends out meeting announcements, takes minutes and attendance at the meetings, maintains membership records and all documents of the association, and manages resources, signs with the president any contracts authorized by the board, and perform other duties as requested by the president. I just want to say, I really want to give a shout out to Ali for being secretary for NINA. She's really kicked butt, and without that teamwork, nothing would have happened in a good way. So right on, Ali. Next. So this is a map of the Northside, showing the areas where we want to reach the people and get them involved in NINA. Next. We took out our NINA brochures throughout College Hill, O'Fallon, and other surrounding neighborhoods. We dropped information to each door and talked with the residents to sign them up as members and invited them to meetings and find out what their concerns are. We want the people to know that an organization is actually listening to them and working to address the issues directly affecting our communities. Next. Our brochure talks about the history of exploitation and conscious neglect by the city of the whole Northside, and NINA's purpose to revitalize and organize the Northside and bring back an independent economy. Next. We also launched our Facebook page where we've been posting activities in the community. And I just want to say we need everyone to go to the website and make comments on the postings that we have, because the more activity there is on the website, the more other people become interested and want to find out what's this whole NINA thing all about. And next slide. And NINA created many social media posts, as you can see on the slide here. Next slide. And there's people who've spoken at NINA meetings, and we've had Megan Green, president of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen, Karan Hanks of SLDC. We had Alderman Laura Keys here, Charles Bryson of TrailNet, Rebecca McLeod, who is the former candidate for Ward 11. We've had Tamika Steigers, president of the St. Louis Business Coalition, Mary Wheeler Jones of the Fairground Park for All board member, Audrey Ellerman, who's the president of Covenant Blue Neighborhood Association. We've had Zaki Baruti of the Universal African Peoples Organization. We've had Bolani
Obanisi of SLBC. We, of course, had Onizene Yeshitela for president of the African People's Education and Defense Fund. And last but not least, we've had Omali Yeshitela, chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, to speak at NINA meetings. Next. And this is just some pictures of the people that have spoken with us. Next slide. And then these are the other elected officials that have spoken or have helped to support the Uhuru Bakery Cafe struggle. Next slide. Here's a picture of 11th Ward Alderman Laura Keys, who's sitting in the front row, who did come to speak at a NINA meeting during her re-election campaign, and the community came out to ask her questions. Next slide. We're not going to play this video, but this is a video that was covered by Channel 5, who was here at the last NINA meeting, where Megan Green came to speak and address, questions and concerns that the community had, and specifically about the tornado recovery, about getting, their homes and businesses rebuilt. Next slide. And some more people that have spoken at our meeting, such as Committeeman Anthony Bell. I know, Committeewoman Amber Cole did speak. Next slide. So I just want to say NINA members stood with the St. Louis Business Coalition in support of demanding that the ARPA funds come to the Northside businesses. Next slide. NINA also participated in the meeting at the Uhuru House sponsored by the St. Louis Business Coalition, a meet and greet with mayoral candidate Kara Spencer. Uhuru Movement forces also attended the mayoral forum for Ward 6 and posed questions and challenged the mayor on the handling of the ARPA funds and struggled with the city to support the permit for Uhuru Bakery and stop blocking businesses on the north side. Kara Spencer never supported any of our demands, as we can painfully see. Next slide. NINA participated in the free food booth at the Uhuru House 2 days after the tornado and the ongoing giveaways organized by APDF and InPDUM. Next slide. On May 27th, NINA spoke at a press conference called by the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, along with other community organizations and residents. NINA demanded that the city respond to the community's needs in the aftermath of the devastation of the tornado. There had been no response from the city government, letting people know how to get resources and help to fix their roofs and homes. NINA made demands at this press conference that the city, 1, turn the power back on to red tag homes, 2, no land grabs, 3, unleash the, at the time, $952 million the city has so the Black community can rebuild. 4, reparations to all Africans affected by the tornado, especially to the families of the 7 people who died as a consequence of the button to sound the alarm of the tornado warning never being pushed. Next slide. NINA spoke out at the Board of Aldermen meeting where they discussed delegating $30 million of the interest on the RAMS money to tornado relief and went to all the town hall meetings. The community turned out for all the town hall meetings and expressed their anger at the mayor and the city for doing nothing to help them. Many people expressed their concern that the city is using the tornado to displace and gentrify the Northside communities, feeding into the NGA. Next slide. And then here I am speaking out at all the public meetings called by the city and organized people to join NINA. Next slide. We created all of our propaganda and took it out to all the town hall meetings. Next slide. NINA was on Channel 5 in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch on NPR and quoted by President of the Board of Aldermen Megan Green in her newsletters and Facebook page postings, expressing her unity with the call by Nina for all resources to go to the North Side and that the South Side needed to support that demand. Next slide. So we found out about the Small Dollars Action Fund that gives grants to neighborhood associations for up to $2,000. And Nina applied and was granted the $2,000 for a Northside neighborhood block party. Next slide. So we didn't want to just have an ordinary block party. We wanted to have a celebration of the will, the strength, and the resilience of the African community who immediately came out and self-deployed despite orders by Mayor Spencer not to do that, which meant people cleared the streets and blocked some streets to keep other residents out of danger from falling power lines and fed the community that had no power for over a week in some cases. Next slide. We had many vendors and information booths, such as St. Louis Public Health, Small Business Administration, and Great Rivers Greenway. Uhuru Foods and Pies provided free food, including hot dogs, delicious sweet potato pies, and chocolate chip cookies. Other vendors and info booths were Mantra Lotus, the InPDUM Giveaway, Amber Bookstore, Black Power Blueprint, LaRonda Braxton's Bags and Jewelry, Crafted by Angel Jewelry, Lemonade by Deborah, Crumb of Care Cookies by Rage, Willie Wall's Wings, Eco Socialist Green Party, and Freedom Community Center. Next slide. We also have Mo Network, Ori, who was a talented face painter, Uhuru Solidarity Movement with Uhuru Planet Apparel. There were also powerful speakers from Board of Aldermen President Megan Green, Community Anthony Bell, the People's Alderman Jesse Todd. We had dynamic performers on hand, such as Makeda Baraka, right on. FoFeet, Kipulon, right on. Young Israel, right on. And Denisha Young. The Bouncy House was a big hit with the children, and want to thank Emily and FoFeet for staffing the first aid booth, since y'all are here. And we can't forget our amazing MCs, Akenge and Tina. Next slide. And one of the highlights of the day was the presentation of a check from the African People's Education and Defense Fund for $1,000 to Arion Johnson of Youth Builders. Arion teaches young people to build tiny houses that he donates to residents who lost their homes. And there was moving testimony from everyone in the group of the positive impact this program has had on them. They stayed and helped the whole day, from setup to breakdown. We also signed up many new contacts and won 9 new NINA members. Next slide. And again, we thank all movement members, InPDUM comrades, everyone who participated in the organizing committee, and of course, the community who came out and made this block party so powerful. Next slide. So I just want to really say that we need more people to join NINA, and you have the opportunity to do that today. And I have some brochures and I have some membership sheets that people can sign up and become a member. And just want to say, membership is free for 2025. The fees in the future, starting in January 2026, the fees will be $10 a year for individuals and $25 a year for businesses. And again, we have a simple form that people can fill out today. So don't leave out that door. If you're not a member, sign up to become a member. And next slide. We have a membership meeting on Tuesday, September 30th at 6 p.m. right here at the Uhuru House. And the keynote speaker is going to be the People's Alderman, Jesse Todd, right on. And we want everybody to come. Let me just get a show of hands. Who's going to show up on Tuesday, the 30th? Right on, right on. Let's get some more hands. Here's a homework assignment for everybody. Bring somebody with you. All right, Uhuru. And that is the presentation. I just want to go ahead and open it up. Uhuru. All right. Any questions? Everybody. Oh, go. Yes.
With the work that you and your group have done already. And
Thank you.
they would get support. I'm out of town.
Oh, you're out of town. You know anybody that lives here in St. Louis, especially on the north side, tell them to come here on the 30th so that they can come to a meeting, find out what it's all about, and become a member. All right. Chairman, you had a
Yeah, I just think it's really important when we reference, like we did during this presentation, the College Hill Neighborhood Association, that we recognize that it is a vehicle for the state. It's not just some innocent entity that's out there. They were a vehicle that was used by the state to make criticisms and attacks to the work that we practice. And anybody can go by the bakery that they're prepared to open and see what has happened just recently. They have to be stunned by this development and the idea that this so-called neighborhood associations would be opposed to it. And the other thing, of course, is that they never register as neighborhood associations.
That's right. Uhuru.
Quick question for the folks who watching, how much to join?
Okay, for people out there watching, if you live in the St. Louis area, all you have to do is sign up and become a member online. As you can see, it's free for 2025. But if you decide to join up in 2026, it is only going to be $10 for an individual. And if you're a business, it's going to be $25. So it's not going to be expensive. I remember when we went to that so-called neighborhood association, they said that their membership was like $100 and some odd bucks for an individual and 200 something for businesses. And I'm like, whoa, how do they have members? But the thing about the neighborhood association that Chairman just talked about is absolutely correct. And that's why NINA was formed, because why should any business, especially if you're a Black business that want to open up shop, have to go through a neighborhood association to get permission? It's the city that holds your fate, whether you get a permit or whatever. It's the city that basically dictates that. If anything, we will encourage that business to make a positive contribution to the community, as opposed to blocking their ability to become, to open up a business. Chairman, you have something?
I just think it's important to acknowledge that historically neighborhood associations in this country function as sort of police entities that they have many opportunities for one. And two, they're means by which select politicians get grounded. This is the place, and that's why we're looking at what was shown there. We had a father and a daughter, both of whom are on the board of Aldermen right now. We have people who've been there for 40 years, families who've been there for 40 years. We have generations like dynasties here, and they have this special relationship with the state through the neighborhood associations. So this is a different kind of neighborhood association. And that's part of what makes it really significant. I just think it's worth understanding that.
Anybody have any other questions? Comments? So everybody can dig it, huh? All right, Uhuru. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take my leave, and I appreciate everybody for hearing the presentation. Uhuru.
World. World.
All right, I just want to remind everybody before President Masamela releases us for the day, that in the back, we have convention t-shirts, and we want you to get your t-shirts. They're $25. We got the InPDUM buttons for $2. APSP flag buttons are $2. And if you all are going, if there's anybody online want to come out and attend for tomorrow, registration will be $15. And also for everybody that showed up today and you have your little lanyard thing, keep your tag for tomorrow so that you can enter tomorrow. And aside from that, we want to thank everybody for coming out, and President Masamela will be releasing us for today.
Oh, so I want to begin by saluting this very important day, a very important series of panels. We began today by looking at the panel, which was said, advancing the RNDP in Africa and globally. As the Uhuru movement has advanced the colonial question over the last 50 plus, almost 60 years, advanced the colonial question, it's the understanding that we are one African nation dispersed around the world. And that's why when the very important question was asked what we can do around what was happening in Sahel, the response was to make the revolution where you are, right? And the important thing about that is it takes the African revolution out the hands of the African petty bourgeoisie, who know that you want to do stuff right here where you live, right? They know you want to do stuff right here where you live, but then they'll have you doing stuff right here where you live against your own self-interest, because your own self-interest isn't just to do stuff, isn't just to get a better day tomorrow or something like that, or the police kind of off your butt or something like that. It's to have a control over your own Black life, right? We got this beautiful baby right here, right? Yeah. Right. And we heard Chairman with his joke. I laughed very loud earlier when Chairman made his joke. But it was funny, but it was also scientific, right? Because colonialism has stolen from us the ability to produce life, labor, and value for ourselves, right? We did not do a name changing ceremony today. I'll be a little salty because I'm like, next time I name somebody, we do a name change, and then you lead us, or you got to get that name back. Your name Ron again. So you got to be Ron again. You know what I mean? But anyway, I ain't supposed to do this. Like I said, this is why it takes me and my classes 2.5 weeks to get through what's supposed to be a 2-day lecture. But anyway, we're one African revolution dispersed around the world. This was put forward in 1981 at the first convention of the African people, the Congress of the African People's Socialist Party. That's where Chairman put forward the understanding that to develop African Soviets, workers' councils where you are, but that does not disperse you from being part of that single African revolution. And like I said, that opportunism takes many formats, right? It can take the format of people calling themselves New Africans. Now you got people saying we ain't even from the continent. We flew Griffins over here across we walked during Pangea. I'm like, you can't stand the earthquake. Surely you can't stand no tectonic plate shifting, talking about we walked across Pangea. I said, ain't this something? I said, but whatever opportunism, but all that, but you heard S.G. Mwezi talking about that's the importance of fighting the cultural question. But when I came in for one of my first conventions, Chairman was asked, what's culture, revolutionary culture? He said, it's culture, but it's for the revolution. I mean, it's in the title, right? So I just want to say that because this brings us all the way to the last panel we have for today, Comrade Sealli. Let's give a round of applause, Comrade Sealli. And Peter member since 1993, and Comrade Sealli, he another one of them Chi-Town dudes, that's out here that done been everywhere and stuff like that. Don't get him started. He the P-Funk master, and I forgot about that, so I apologize. I love Sealli. So Sealli, wow. But no lie, you go to Chicago, you go to Oakland, and you just happen to be over there by the lake. Is that Sealli? Sealli and his all power promotions is real. So Sealli is the right person to have here. And because in such a city where so many Africans have been moving through, it's the one place I've met where like Africans, it's not none of that you ain't from here type nonsense. You come down here, you get down with the people that's really trying to put in some work, and they embrace you with open arms and give you a plate of fish and spaghetti. So, all right, that's not. In ways, he's like, please, y'all don't laugh. You guys are encouraging him. So I just want to read this. This is from 2008. This is how I'll end for today because it really speaks to what Sealli just talked about. The chairman says the Revolutionary National Democratic. I gave you an excerpt of this earlier. It says Revolutionary National Democratic Program is not simply a title. It is an actual political document, a real political program. This statement has various implications concerning its presentation. Its intent is not to simply list a number of criticisms, objections, and/or oppressions, but primarily to win general support for a program that unites the broadest possible group of democratic forces with the aspirations of the African working class, while at the same time isolating the imperial colonial power. And that's what you heard with Nina, right? That's what you heard, and the success you heard is a program for success for African liberation, right? Fight for African liberation where you are, but as a part of the international struggle to free African people. That's what we can do. Right. All right. So I just want to last say that we've exceeded our goal by over $1,800. So unlike the other guy with the rap snacks, DC owner said that there ain't no limit also. So since it ain't no limit, we going up to $8,000, right? So we raising that up to $8,000. We did $6,800 today. Yeah. So I just want to salute everybody. We'll get a full tally of everybody and everyone's name. But that sort to just really appreciate everybody. Really look forward to tomorrow. Yeah, this is excellent. So Uhuru, fight back. Israel led to Africa. Africa. Israel led to Uhuru. See y'all tomorrow. Look at her. She throwing her hand up. She did it. Yes, she did it. You see that? That's my baby. That's my baby right there. That's my baby. Look! She got a message in. She got it up. Right back. That's what's up. Look, you needed a picture of that. Yeah, oh man. In my head, I was like, somebody take a picture. Stop looking. Take a picture. Look, you probably could prompt her to do it again. Oh, man. See, she's doing it. She's doing it.
Chairman. Marcel. Get Chairman. Chairman. What is yours? Okay.